Hey everybody, it's Gauntlet X and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have my final draft challenge of the Innistrad Midnight Hunt format. Again, the high stakes draft format, but this is the last day of the event, so the last possible draft that I can get in. I believe there's like 2 hours left to sign up, so this will be the third and final, and we've got some pretty spicy cards in this pack, most of which being multicolored, which is not where you tend to want to go pick one, because that leaves you pretty narrowed down with what you can do, what you can put that card in. Obviously, Dennick Pious Apprentice being the strongest card here, just a really good rate on both halves of this card. Having them slapped onto one card makes it an incredible 2-for-1, and yeah, this is just the strongest card in the pack. The problem is the only deck it goes into is Blue-White Disturb, so if you get cut out of either of those colors, it's going to be really hard to justify running this card. So I am still going to take it here because our other options are pretty much other fantastic multicolored cards that lock us into 2 colors. I guess the only monocolored card I would consider is the Purifying Dragon. That is a big old flyer for 5 mana, but with just a bunch of multicolored in that pack, I'm pretty fine just rolling with the Dennick pick 1 pack 1. Just, again, a really efficient creature on both halves of the card. So now in pick 2, we don't really have much to follow that up with. Nothing that strong in white or blue, the best being Gavony Trapper, really, which is solid, but you only really need 1 or 2 copies of this card because any game where you end up with multiples on the board, your mana can get pretty choked up, having to spend 2 mana for each time you use this ability. So duplicates are kind of useless, so you don't want too many copies of the Trapper, so I don't like taking it really early on in the draft like this. What are the best cards in this pack? Honestly, the best commons here, Hobbling Zombie's been very good. There are some big creatures in the format, and even smaller creatures. The fact that it replaces itself is pretty nice. Eccentric Farmer's a pretty great rate. It also does help splash. We could be like green-blue with a little bit of white. I don't know, I'll just scoop up the Eccentric Farmer here. The Winterhorn Blessing being a good uncommon, but that is a dual-colored one there. And yeah, that's pretty much how I feel on that pack. Again, nothing super spicy in blue or white. I don't really like Faithful Mending. Faithless Looting kind of cards that draw 2, discard 2, they don't actually put you up a card, aren't that good in Limited because you don't really want card selection. You want card advantage because none of your cards are going to be drastically better than the rest usually. However, the one deck this would work a lot in is a deck with a ton of Flashback and Disturb, and Dennick's a good start to that. That being said, I think I just like Play with Fire as the best card in this pack, just 1 mana for 2 damage to any target. We'll just stay open at the start of this draft and keep taking the strongest card because the stuff that's in the colors that we've already been in is pretty filler here, like Amalgam, Sanctifier, Mending, or if we take a green card, just like Bird Admirer. Alright, well, it's going to be an interesting draft to navigate, that's for sure, because there's no massively clear signs in any direction thus far, I think. It is only pick 4, so we definitely have time. We can kind of dirtle around in the whole first pack if we really want to, and then solidify ourselves in pack 2, but again, nothing clearly massively powerful here. Gale Drifter would be fine in that blue-white Disturb deck. Probably the best for going with something we already have, but I think Sacred Fire is a better card in general. And we do already have a Play with Fire, so we'd have 2 cards towards like a red-white flashback deck. Maybe we will be actually splashing in a Dennick. Go like red-white-blue here, Graveyard Shenanigans or something. I don't know. We're going to stay open here, just keep taking cards in basically every color until something really shows itself as the most open color. Well, in this pack, the most open color would be red. We have Flame Channeler and Ardent Elementalist. Both of these are pretty solid. I'd expect them to get picked somewhat early on. Famished Forager's also great. So yeah, pretty solid stuff in red there. Great removal for any deck we end up in Silverbolt, or mediocre removal, but the fact that it goes in any deck is great. Silversmith for an aggressive white deck. Any white deck with a lot of creatures is going to have a good sign with this card. With Play with Fire and Sacred Fire, I'm actually kind of feeling the Flame Channeler a lot here. The 2/2 that can turn itself into a 3/3 if you've dealt damage with something, so it's just a good aggressive creature on curve that could be even better, although Ardent Elementalist, kind of slow for this format, but it is a really good value card, so that is a very close pick between Flame Channeler and Ardent Elementalist to me. So here, nothing really left in green to go with the Eccentric Farmer. We do have another good red card, the Famished Foragers. If you're an aggressive deck, being able to just plop down a 4/3 and another 3-mana creature on turn 4 is really nice. Get out on the board really quickly there. Grizzly Ghoul, but we don't have any black cards. And black, that is one thing I'm 100% sure about. We've seen very, very little black. Black is hard cut from this direction. These blue cards are fine. Geist Wave cover up, but they're not really my jam. I'll just go ahead and take the Famished Foragers here. We're starting to get a pretty hefty amount of red, so we can solidify ourselves into at least one color here, which will be nice. So another Famished Foragers, the Tavern Ruffian, some fine red cards, some filler blue removal, Locked in the Cemetery, although Dennick is our only blue card thus far. Could take Cathar Commando for just a good aggressive card. If we go red-white, we're going to be a pretty aggressive deck, and we're going to want a lot of 2-mana creatures to help curve out the Foragers. We already do have the 1 Foragers, and I don't want a million 4-drops, so I don't know about taking a second Foragers just immediately here. Yeah, I'll just scoop up a Cathar Commando. Maybe we move into Boros here. And we're seeing these Foragers all go really lately, so we should be able to pick up plenty of them, which is nice. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling good about the red here. I do like Lambhole Terrier as well, just a 2-mana 2/2 on curve that gives us something to do with our mana when we've run out of cards, just making sure that we still chip in for some damage by shutting off some blockers. Soul Guide Griff's been pretty good too. Get rid of one of their flashback cards and just a big game-ending little flyer there. I'll go with the Foragers, though. I don't want to get too hard in on white here, because we're 100% red. We're just probably white. With Sacred Fire being a great reason to be there. Alright, this pick's a very easy Immolation. Although we could take that Path to the Festival if we want to do some like Naya splashy stuff, but we don't have a real big reason to be in green. We just have an Eccentric Farmer and that's it. And none of this stuff's that good. I guess we just take like a Flare of Faith kind of combat trick for a creature-heavy aggressive deck. That'll be fine. Don't love the Dread Knight. I like the 5-mana 3/4 flyer better. Just getting a big evasive card rather than a big trampoly boy. I'll just rare draft here this Ghoul Colors Harvest. Why not? And, you know, I have run Abandon the Post and Pax Betrayal out of the sideboard, so these are cards I would actually pick up and sometimes play in draft challenges, where it's best 2 out of 3 games, but I would basically never pick them up in best of 1 games. But here it's like now we have some decent sideboard options out of those cards. Alright, this is not what we want to see out of our Pack 2 here. A lot of black in here, and we cannot really take any of it because we know we're going to get cut off of black. We saw basically no playable black cards in the first pack, so all of that is pretty meaningless. There is Devoted Graphkeeper, and we saw a decent amount of blue. If we do still want to try to do a blue splash for Dennick, we could get a Graphkeeper in there too. If we want to take something to just go with the Boros aggro that we've got so far, we can just take Candlegrove, which just a 2-mana 2/2 on curve that's a flyer later on during some board stalls. Can be important. Yeah, I like the Witch definitely better than the Mob in these Boros decks again. Mob really at its best with a lot of tokens and sacrifice. That's not exactly what Boros is doing. I'll just take a Candlegrove Witch here. Alright, another Play with Fire or Burn the Accursed. Actually a bit of a difficult decision for me. The fact that we have Play with Fire and Immolation for 2 damage, 1-mana spells is really nice for our early game removal. Like there's those 2 plus a Sacred Fire, so I think we have 3 removal spells that cost 2 or less and do basically 2 damage, so we're more missing out on the expensive removal that could kill more cards. So I think I'd go Burn the Accursed over Play with Fire, although there's also a Gavany Silversmith, and we are a red-white deck with a lot of creatures in it. I mean, only 6 so far, but that's what we're trying to do. So Silversmith is going to be a great aggressive card on turn 4 for us. So it's actually between Silversmith and Burn for me. Again, I already spoke on why Burn over Play. I think I'll take Burn over Silversmith too here, but it's pretty close. I do like Silversmith a lot. So we have 1, 2, 3 2-mana creatures already. Not really hurting for 2-mana creatures yet this far. I usually like to have at least 5 in these aggressive decks. So I don't think I'm hurting on them enough to just scoop up a Festival Crasher or a Commando, but we could still take Festival Crasher. We do have a combat trick here, which is fun to play around with that, and some cheap instant sorcery removal. That would work well with it. But I think Clarion Cathars is just a pretty good card on rate, and Soul Guide Gryff is a nice game ender. So I like both of these, and we don't have much going on top end yet. Guys, Flame Reservoir are always too slow for these kinds of decks, so I don't love that. I'm going to take the Soul Guide Gryff here. Let's get some evasion. We don't have any flying creatures in this deck, and that'll be a nice way to try to close out some games. So, looks like everybody on this direction got cut out of black, because now we're all just sending black to these players, because these players just all scooped it all up in the first pack. So we are seeing black in pack 2 here, but I can pretty much guarantee we won't see it in pack 3. So we could have played a black deck and just had one single pack worth of black cards, but generally not going to be a great time. Another Candlegrove Witch or a Festival Crasher, so we can get our 4th 2-mana creature in here, or we could scoop up an Neonate's Rush. Card's been fine. Definitely great in the sideboard for us, but unless you have a lot of vampires that you need to be making your opponent lose the 1 life for and can get the cost reduction for, I don't love it in the main deck, but it's fine. We have a lot of bigger removal already. I think I'm just going to take another creature here, go with the Candlegrove Witch. Alright, Stolen Vitality, random combat trick if we see more of our pumpkin friends to play around with in here. There's a Lunarch Veteran. We did play a Boros deck in our last draft, and that card didn't actually do super well there. It's really, really good in white-black or white-blue, but in Boros, kind of just sat there being a 1-1 most of the time. The life gain didn't matter in most of our matchups because we were pretty much always on the aggressive, so I'm just going to take Lambhole Terrier here. We're doing pretty good on removal. I don't really need another Immolation. Well, Neonate's Rush or Blessed Defiance, both pretty solid. Blessed Defiance is really good when you're racing because that life gain just comes out of nowhere and then gives you an evasive creature to start chipping away at your opponent. I like Blessed Defiance a lot. We ran a few in the one mono white deck that I drafted for fun, and it really overperformed there, so I've actually gone a lot higher on the card than before. I do think Neonate's Rush is a good card, but I am valuing Blessed Defiance mega highly now as a combat trick. Alright, and there's a Festival Crasher to go with it. There we go. That's a great wheel here, because that's going to go with our Stolen Vitality and our Blessed Defiance we just picked up. Be even bigger. But now we do have a lot of 2-mana creatures, so now we're getting to the point where we're going to have the option between what creatures we want to cut. Maybe we don't want Cathar Commandos, maybe we don't want Harriers. I don't know, we'll see. I could even see us ending up cutting the Candlegrove Witches, because we're not going to have a million ways to trigger Coven too well in this deck. A lot of 2-power stuff, for sure. But we'll come to all that when we get to the deck building. It's just nice to have the options right now. This is all complete nonsense. As is this, but, you know, another finisher in here. We only have one 5-mana creature. Might as well keep it main deck for now and make our choices during the deck building. Ooh. Give me the choice between 2 of my favorite white uncommons here. Happy to open them up, but unhappy that they're in the same pack, because it's going to be a difficult decision. Ambitious Farmhand is just a really good value card. For 2 mana, you're getting a 1-1 and a Plains from your deck, so essentially 2 mana for a 1-1 that draws you a card. Sure, it's just a Plains, but does put you up a card. So imagine a game where you have 2 mana in hand, but you have 3 and 4 mana cards. You're just straight up a card by grabbing a Plains in that game with your farmhand. And then later it turns into a 3/3 lifelinker, which is just even better. And then the Dawn Guard here with Ward and the ability whenever it becomes night or day, you get to dig a creature out of the top 4 of your library. I think Dawn Guard's going to be better in this deck just because we are chock full of mana value 3 or less creatures, but I do really, really like Ambitious Farmhand, so it does feel bad to pass that one up. And here we can scoop up an Ardent Elementalist without much competition. A 2/1, when it enters the battlefield, return an instant or sorcery from graveyard to hand. So this can pick up our Play with Fires, our Combat Tricks, our Sacred Fire, our Burn the Accursed, even if we top deck this in the late game. So some powerful stuff to pick up with this. Seems like a fine pickup, nothing much else going on for us here. Ooh, alright, here we go. The gold uncommon of the strategy, Sunrise Cavalier, 3 mana for 3/3 trample haste, great rate, gets in there, starts beating down really quickly, and every time you flip between night or day, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. So a really nice card here. I do love me a Silversmith, but Cavalier is just a bit better, being cheaper and immediately slamming down your opponent, while also potentially putting counters on your field. So gonna take the Sunrise Cavalier over the Silversmith, and we've had several opportunities to pick up Silversmiths, but it's looking like we're not going to end up with any in our deck, which will be a little sad. But that is on me. I did choose other cards over them. So we do have Voldaren Ambusher here. If we have enough vampires, that could be okay, but we don't have a ton. We have 3. So it could still be okay, dealing 1 damage to something when we play it, or maybe 2 on average. That being said, our other options are like Blessed Defiance or Ardent Elementalist. I do like both of those quite a bit. And then there's just some filler 3/2s, the Infiltrator and the Guardian. We have a few ways to try to flip between day and night, so this could be a 4/4 sometimes. Yeah, Elementalist Ambusher here. I'm going to go with another Elementalist. Pretty close pick there. Another Immolation, a Voldaren Stinger, a Morning Patrol. I really don't like Candletrap in aggressive decks because you really need to get the Coven for this to do anything for you. If you just give their important creature Defender, it's still going to be blocking your stuff all day long. So I'm not a big fan of that. Although if you use it on an early game creature, it just blocks your stuff and dies. But it just doesn't do exactly what I want it to do in these kind of matchups. We actually don't have a lot of 3s, so I'm going to take a Morning Patrol here. Just looking at the curve again, and don't really love any of this stuff. We have sideboarded in a Homestead Courage before, so that's an option. We have 16 creatures right now, only need like 1 more. Could just slap down the Celestial Sanctifier, have our 17 creatures we're looking for. But it is a pretty filler one, same with the Dread Knight. Yeah, I'm just going to slam a Courage into the sideboard. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a better creature to fill out the deck here. And sure, I guess Ardent Elementalist, although the curve is certainly getting awkward now with 5 4-mana cards, 6 4-mana creatures in this aggressive deck. A Foragers, a Ritual Guardian, another Stolen Vitality. We already have like more non-creature stuff than we have room for, I think, at this point. So I'm thinking we only have 1 Festival Crasher, 2. If we had more Festival Crashers, Stolen Vitality would be a bigger pick. I'm just going to go with the 3-mana creature out of this pack. Just another creature to choose from when we're building our deck that also fills our curve pretty well. Wow, blue pretty open here. Revenge of the Drowned being a big card for this late. Locked in the Cemetery less so. But Revenge of the Drowned, that one is great. Geist Wave is actually also pretty good. Alright, well, we do get Million Combat Tricks. Ooh, I actually do like Harvesttide Infiltrator better than the 3/2s that will never be a 4/4. So that's another option when building our deck that we'll probably take here. Alright, so just another Boros deck here, but I think these were definitely some of the most open colors. Blue was pretty open too. We might have been able to end up in just the white-blue Disturb deck for sure, but that first pack we were just seeing a lot of great red, and that kind of sent us in that direction. You know, the first packs where we got Sacred Fire, Play with Fire. I guess that's most of it, and then like Flame Channeler and Harrier, I think that was all first pack. All right. So we have 20 creatures, 8 non-creatures. We can do this the simple way and just cut down to your average 17 creature deck. So cut 3 of these creatures, and then cut 2 of these non-creatures. Call it a day and call it a deck. If we need to change the curve around a bit, maybe get some card draw on the deck, stuff like that, we can do that all in sideboarding in between games. So what do we want to cut here? I think I'll cut the 3/2. And then I'll cut one of the 4 mana cards, probably an Elementalist. I don't think we need 3. And then cut one of the Dread Knights. Looks about right. Looks about the best curve we can kind of hope for in this deck out of everything we've drafted so far. And then for the non-creature stuff, hopefully just killing our opponent fast enough we don't really need card draw, although with one Festival Crasher, we're not super excited about combat tricks. We have a lot of creatures too, but we also have a lot of cheap burn spells to use. Not a lot, but a few cheap burn spells to use in a similar way. I think I like Electric Revelation still being in the deck when we have 3 different combat tricks we can cut. Like we just cut 2 combat tricks, then we still have one of them at least. And then we still have 1 card draw spell, so our deck's a little bit more flexible that way, instead of just having cutting 1 combat trick, 1 draw spell, and then just having 2 combat tricks and a bunch of burn. Yeah, I think that's cool with me. I think I'll just cut these 2 mana tricks, keep in Blessed Defiance, Electric Revelation here. And this is definitely a 17 land aggressive deck, not like the 16 land one we did last time, because our curve does make it all the way up to 5 mana for dang sure here. And we have a lot of 4 mana cards as well. Electric Revelation also gets us out of Flood, discarding those lands to turn them into more viable cards. Alright. Yeah, this looks like a deck to me, just some Boros aggro. We've got Sunrise Cavalier, the kind of signpost uncommon for the strategy. I'm getting everything sunny side up. That is the last thing that I named one of my Sunrise Cavalier decks, so I can't name it that again, so I guess we'll just name it something relatively similar. Just welcome to Denny's, opponents. So, let's head on into round 1 as I grab a drink between rounds so that I don't demolish my voice. Because if this deck does well, as we saw in our last draft, this could be a 3-hour plus draft here. So grab a drink, grab a snack, maybe set some time over a few days if you want to watch this whole video, because it could be a long one again. We'll see here. We certainly don't have nearly as impressive bombs in this deck. Don't really have any rares, I think. Just a consistent pile of creatures to try to curve out well with. This isn't going to curve out perfectly. We're not doing anything till turn 3, unfortunately. But I think we still keep this. We have to hit a land to do anything, which is really iffy, but so is a Mold of 6. We're on the draw. We have 3 turns to draw land and 15 lands left in the deck. 33 cards there. That's almost half of our deck. So we have almost a 50-50 shot of drawing a land 3 turns in a row. So we're flipping 3 coins, and as long as we don't get tails 3 times in a row, we can do some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this. You know, if we don't get tails 3 times in a row, we get to play Cavalier and then Infiltrator. So there we go. Flipped heads immediately and just hit our turn 1 land. The second plane's probably going to take a longer time to get to, but now we'll probably get to Foragers, because any land gets us there. And there we go, one of our 6 2-drops showing up right on time, so thank you very much, Candlegrove Witch. And our opponent is on green and black with a Hound Tamer out on the board. Turn 3, 3/3 trample, and they can start dumping counters onto their stuff. Am I okay with trading Cavalier into that? I kind of am, because I have a Gavanidon Guard coming out to maybe draw us more cards. And that will turn itself into a 4/4 on the next block if they don't do anything else. Or if they just don't cast a spell, it'll become a 4/4 at night. So I think we just offer the trade here. Like, I could also just attack in and see if they block, so I could go for a Blessed Defiance trade instead. And then if they do, we just drop down a Dawn Guard. But I'm pretty sure I guess we can never put it past our opponent. We don't know what's going on in their head, but if I were in their position, almost any hand that I would have, I'd just take the 2. Because most combat tricks wouldn't be like Blessed Defiance, where our creatures would still trade. Most of them I would just eat their creature without losing 1, so I'd expect they would just like not block and we just play Dawn Guard. Which I do want to get that thing off the board before it makes things better. Anyways, next turn they have Contortionist Troop. Once they have Coven, they'll be putting a +1/+1 counter on each of their creatures during their end step. I guess this time I'll attack in because I do have enough mana to drop down Foragers, so now they don't block because they know I could have a combat trick that would eat that up. And then because they didn't block, I get to drop down Foragers and Infiltrator this turn and just curve out aggressively, showing off that's the power of that card I was talking about earlier, where in an aggressive deck, being able to then just dump 2 creatures out on turn 4 can be quite good. Alright, and now is going to be a Blessed Defiance turn. Now we're going to kill that Tireless Hauler with our Blessed Defiance for sure. So we just attack with everything, because we'll have Coven, so our Witch will be flying, and everything else will be big enough to kill the Hauler if we Blessed Defiance it. And they would also just straight up trade for the Contortionist Troop on board. So our opponent's best block, although they don't know what's in our hand, would be the 3/3 on the 4/3, and then the 4/5 on the 3/2, I guess. Or I guess just not blocking the 3/2 at all. Ooh, interesting. So I guess they're playing around like +2/+2 or something. Alright, so we're just going to kill the Hauler here then. Yeah, just kill the Hauler, and then we won't have double white for Dawn Guard, so we'll just be able to play Cathar Commando after this. And that is all. I guess we could have just killed the Contortionist Troop and not even used Defiance, but I do want to kill this 4/5 because it's going to block our aggro for a long time coming. And we do get another flyer by playing the Blessed Defiance here too, which is super nice. Another Tireless Hauler, alright. Well, may have made the wrong choice there. We didn't know they had another Tireless Hauler in hand, but if we did, then just killing the Contortionist Troop would be pretty fine there. Saving the Blessed Defiance to just get more flying damage in later, I suppose. Alright, well, we got 1s, 2s, and 3s, so we will have Coven. We're attacking for 3 damage in the sky every turn. We can just keep that going on, and on the ground, we're just trying to sit here for a while. We're not going to break through this board state, so I like Gavany Dawn Guard on the ground, and the Dawn Guard will start drawing us cards if it flips between day and night. Excuse me. My voice is already dying, but I have recorded a lot recently. Of course, the last recording session ended up being like 6 hours, so by the end I was feeling very dead. Uh-oh.
Harm the trees, and you will rot at their
This has gone from a game and a matchup that I was pretty excited about to one that I'm not sure we can win, because any game we play against a red and 6 is going to be a very uphill battle here. Our deck just does not have removal that's going to be able to kill something like a 6/6, and a 6/6 reach just shuts off our flyer's ability to do much of anything also. So, I mean, red and 7, not red and 6, red and 7 is just... that is just a very, very powerful card. Be a very uphill battle here. I guess we can try to go wide. They are at 10 life, and currently they block our 3 biggest creatures and take 3 no matter what. If we can dump enough creatures onto the board quickly enough, we might get there, but if red and 7 gets to 3 again and gets another giant reach creature, we have a really hard time getting there. We have a Blessed Defiance to pick up with Elementalist. I don't like that. Do we just drop Morning Patrol then, or do we draw cards, try to get an out here? Could draw cards with Revelation and throw the Disturb card in grave. And if we do it main phase, then we won't flip their Hauler. Although then we won't draw a card with Dawn Guard. But we'll also draw the 2 cards before we pass the turn, so if we hit any lands, we can play them immediately. Which makes it so next turn we can go Elementalist Blessed Defiance. Kind of 1/6/6. Yeah, it's not that bad if we flip it to night for them. So let's flip it to night for us. Ooh, that's not what we want to see there. Yeah, we have like a 4/4
Growth.
to block their 6/6, so just a 4/4 and a 3/1 will kill it. Or a 4/4 and a 3/3, but that would give them the opportunity to kill our Gavany Dawn Guard. Let's see what they've milled here. They have Defenestrate, they have Huntmaster too. Oh no. This is a phenomenal deck in terms of the individual card power for sure. Ren 7 and Pack Leader, 2 of the best bombs in the format. They even got some good removal. Defenestrate, Hound Tamers, very nice deck from our opponent. And Contortionist Troop just going off now as well. Alright, well, Revelation time. Festival Crasher and a Flame Channeler are the draws. I don't see how we can possibly get out a Ren and 7 plus Pack Leader on board. They're down to 10, sure, but every time this attacks now, they're getting a couple more 2/2s. Unless we double spell here. It's not too hard to double spell. Just turn that into a 6/6 that doesn't make more cards. Plus, then we draw a card off Dawn Guard. Yeah, we have to just try to amass a ton of value off of our Dawn Guard here and get a really big board state, particularly with flyers if we can. Can't play a flyer this turn and still flip today, so we'll have to just play 2 ground troops. Oh no, Gavany Dawn Guard is failing us today. I guess I could check. We have drawn a lot of our 2 and 3 mana creatures. How many do we have left in here? I only have a couple left. Another Candlegrove Witch and a Lambholt Harrier. So we don't actually have too many cards left to hit because we've already drawn Flame Channeler, Festival Crasher, Cathar Commando, Harvesttide Infiltrator, and Candlegrove Witch. We've drawn all of those naturally. So Dawn Guard not actually pulling much out at this point. Silverbolt, get rid of the Dawn Guard, I guess. Ren and 7 big enough to make another giant reach creature here. Yeah, there's just no way at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next game here. Preserve our processing power in the CPU, the broken CPU that is my brain. Because I can't think of a single combination of cards that we could draw to get out of that. We don't have removal that can kill their Tovolar's Packmaster or their Ren and 7, and even if we kill, their board state is much better than ours now. Regardless. So yeah, I mean, this is a matchup we just have to outrace them very much because the individual card quality they have on their high mana cards is absurd. Some incredible bombs for sure. So we just need to try to kill them before they come out. So kind of a fingers crossed sort of matchup. We can throw in some more combat tricks and cut some of our late game cards to try to speed up the deck because by the time we make it to playing like a 6/5 trample, they just have a 4/4 vigilance at least out on the board. So that's not going to be great in this matchup. Soul Guide Gryff could still be great. Elementalist probably too slow for the matchup, and our cheap instants and sorceries just aren't that high impact, so I could even see cutting these. And then we just throw in like double Stolen Vitality, +3/+1 trample, get quick damage in here. Just try to slam in as fast as possible. In which case we could even throw in another cheap creature like Ritual Guardian here now. And then that would be the deck. Could even maybe cut 1 land now that our curve is smaller. Cut 1 land, throw in a Flare of Faith for just even more light speed aggro. How much does Homestead Courage help with that? Like a little bit. It helps with Coven, trigger the witches faster. Sure. Lower the curve yet again. And then just drop a land. Alright. Going as hyper aggro as this deck is capable of here. Cutting a land, throwing in some combat tricks and a cheaper creature. Going on the play. Try to kill them before much happens. Well, that is one thing that can happen when you cut 1 land. We did cut 1 land for Homestead Courage. So this hand would have been 2 lands if we hadn't cut that land, so that'll certainly happen to us. That was a risk that we chose to take here. Well, we'll take the mulligan, and there we go. That is keepable. We have at least one creature coming out. If we hit the third land, we are off to the races. I think we get rid of the Dawnguard, to be honest, because we need to hit specifically a white source to cast it. And once we hit our third land, we're going to want to play Cavalier and get that jamming in. I don't know, Dawnguard is quite good. Maybe we get rid of Homestead Courage. Although that gives us something to do. Even if we get stuck on just 2 mana, we can at least make Commando a 5/3, which is spicy. But, yeah, I'll get rid of the Homestead Courage here. Alright. I'm going to 3-1 on turn 2. That is a start to some fast aggro. 3-1 into a 3/3 Trample Haste. Attacking for 6 damage on turn 3 if they don't have a turn 2 creature. We'll see what they've got on their turn 2, but they didn't have a 2-mana creature last game, so hopefully fingers crossed. Alright, well, they do have a 2-mana creature, but at least the trade for Commando isn't that bad. The trade for Cavalier is pretty bad, though, so I'm going to go ahead and play Ritual Guardian instead, turn 3. Ooh, Blessed Defiance, that's nice, but I'm not really going to cast it here. We will in the future. They take the trade because we were both here last game. We know that they have a much better late game than we do, and they know that as well. So let's get the Ritual Guardian out here, and then it's still keep up that plan of attacking for 6 next turn. Hound Tamer it is. Well, I mean, we both know the matchup, so they're probably just 100% up for trading the Tamer for the Cavalier at this point. So is it still correct to attack with Cavalier then? I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. We really want them to like flip it tonight so we can get a counter here, but I guess if they flip it tonight, they have Hound Tamer as a 4/4 as well, so we'll just have a 4/4 versus our 4/4. So it doesn't get us too far. Opponent has gone into the think tank here. Hound Tamer's a pretty adorable card. Just hanging out with the dogs. Well, they are going to flip it. Alright, well. Make the Ritual Guardian 4 power then so it can still attack in against the pup, I think. Because I don't want to trade with Cavalier still. Because obviously if I hit a Plains, I get the double spell here. If I hit Play with Fire, I also get the double spell. Although then I'll have to Play with Fire their face to do so. Which is not, it's not ideal, but at least we get to scry one. We're getting another +1/+1 counter on one of our cards, so it's not like we totally wasted the card. We turned the card into an additional +1/+1 counter, plus an attempt on Gavany Dawnguard to draw a card. So I think that's what I want to do here. I'm going to go Gavany Dawnguard and Play with Fire. But keep that Cavalier on the board so we can keep throwing counters on our stuff. They've held up some kind of trick here, or are we just trading? Clear shot. God, that is devastating. Make it a 5/5, kill the Cavalier guaranteed. We can Bless Defiance to still kill the pup, but we're still going down a card here because they get the 2-for-1 on the clear shot. Yeah, we can't stop this from happening. Would I rather Play with Fire so I still get to double spell? So I still get to cast Dawnguard? I think I'd rather Play with Fire so I still get to cast Dawnguard, because if I cast Blessed Defiance here, I don't have double white, so I don't get to play a creature this turn. So I think we have to Play with Fire on the pup to trade in this fight. Yeah, that is a rough one there. At least we do draw the card off of the Gavany Dawnguard. Try to remotely get us out of that there with at least a card. See if they're stuck on 3 here. They didn't play their 4th line last turn. They did draw it this turn. Yeah, I can't get over. This is just an excellent deck. This is the kind of high-tier competition you can really expect in the draft challenges. Our opponent navigated their draft perfectly. They were definitely in the open colors. So Contortionist Troop it is. We can just trade. We can just pass turn. We don't have too many 2-mana cards left now that that's been drawn. Guardian's been drawn. We have 2 Candlegrove Witch, a Festival Crasher, a Morning Patrol. So we have 4 left. In our 28 card deck, we're digging 4 cards deep. It's a little bit more likely to fail than to hit. So it's not like a 50-50, it's like a 40-60 or something around there. Yeah, I think it's probably more important to just run out some creatures here than to let it flip tonight. So it's going to be a while till we flip tonight also. Oh, do we offer trade? Guess not. Let's just get these out. There are a lot of factors that make it pretty close to where I want to just trade Dawnguard into Troop. But the thing is, we're not actually really worried about Contortionist Troop's ability going off, because their deck has like many other ways to win that are much better and much more efficient. Alright. Baneblade Scoundrel only happens on blocks, right? Yeah, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1. So it won't give these -1/-1 when they attack into it, but we only have 1 Blessed Defiance, so we can only make 1 block okay for us. We could just pass here and see what we get on Dawnguard, if anything. We could like shut off Contortionist Troop and attack with everybody. They probably block Dawnguard. We deal 4 damage to them, and then we have 2 2/2s on our board against a 3/3 on theirs, and they still have 4 cards in hand that we know are non-lands. Like, I just don't see any attacks being a winning position for us here. The only thing that I could possibly see to like scrape by into a position where we have maybe as many cards as our opponent is if we just start hitting every time with Dawnguard and every draw step, which is really unlikely, but with the Silver Bolt to kill the Dawnguard, I don't think there's much we can really do. Our opponent's deck is definitely just a much better deck than ours. This was a brutal round. It's giving -2/-2 now? No, it still gives -1/-1, but now we lose a life even if we block. Alright, they're just gonna pass. They know they can just sit pretty and wait to draw the bomb spells. Yeah, their 3-mana 4/4 is one of our better draws at this point. Well, looks like they might not have Wrenn in 7 yet. They didn't play it last turn, and they haven't just slammed it down this turn yet. But we are really just not in the position we want to be. Our opponent just has bigger creatures to stop all our early aggression. So our opponent has all the time in the world to draw into them, and even if they don't, they've got the winning board state here, just bigger stuff. Ooh, Burn the Accursed is pretty big. We can get rid of Contortionist Troops so that it doesn't make their board better and better as things go on. We can also just attack in And then maybe Bless Defiance to kill the Contortionist Troop. If I had one more mana, I'd feel really comfortable attacking in, because then we could Bless Defiance one, burn the other. But without that, because I only get to cast one of these, attacking in's a little bit sketchy. Because they can block in a way where I need to use a trick on both halves of the combat. Also, double spelling would allow me to flip their stuff back to the daytime versions, which is nice too, but on this current board state, I think we're just killing the troop and passing. Do make the Flame Channeler the embodiment of flame as well, which is nice. 6 mana now. Slam in the squad. They have combat tricks on top of everything else they've got here. Solidify our spot in the grave. We're already at a 0.1% chance to win. Alright. Yeah. Not a combat trick, but instant speed removal will also do it there. That was a rough matchup. I would be incredibly surprised if that deck does not go 6 wins. Could still go 6-1 in best of 3 games, like in the draft challenges. There is no hand smoother, so you will have a lot more mana screw and mana flood, just like any normal paper game of Magic. In best of 1 games, they actually do a hand smoother thing where they draw you 2 hands and then give you the one that has the more standard amount of lands in it. So whatever hand is like closest to 3 lands, I think, is the one they give you out of 2 hands drawn. But in best of 3 games, they just pure random. Here's your 7 cards. Sorry, that was probably really loud. So you will notice a lot more bad hands in best of 3. So even an incredible deck like the one we just played against could still easily drop a round to mana issues. And I think we're going to mulligan here because we need a red source, and even if we hit it, we don't do anything till turn 4. Like, we have an Immolation, I guess, to slow our opponent down, but not a spicy hand. Also not super spicy, but more stuff we can do here. We'll keep double white in case we hit our Dawn Guard. We don't really have any double red cards, as far as I remember. Alright, well, Chaplain of Alms is very good against our current hand. Everything we can cast in our hand is 1 toughness right now. Soul Guide Gryph, we don't have the mana for it yet, but all these are just 1 toughness creatures that Chaplain of Alms just first strikes away. Did our opponent keep the 1-lander? I mean, it's a good 1-lander against us. Chaplain of Alms out. And Jack-O-Lantern does cycle itself to draw a card here. Dig towards that 2nd land. Alright, they must be a very aggressive deck if they are okay with keeping a 1-lander. So this will be an interesting matchup for sure. I'm just going to Bless Defiance here. The reason is because we're guaranteed to be casting Ardent Elementalist next turn, and that way we get a little bit of value off the Bless Defiance instead of doing nothing with it. Plus, in an aggressive matchup, the life gain could matter. Alright, Flesh Taker turn 2 it is. Can't attack in now that they have a first striker up, so we're just playing Elementalist and picking up that Bless Defiance. Sure, they know about it now, but it's still going to give us a 1-1 and some life gain during any combat. There's not much they can do playing around it. So black-white sacrifice for sure with Flesh Taker and Ecstatic Awakener, both of these being certainly black-white sacrifice cards. We do have the mana for Soul Guide Gryph now. Just start attacking for 3 in the sky every turn. That is kind of our best way to get through on this board state. Foragers wouldn't be awful. I mean, 3 toughness is pretty big against their board, but definitely like the flyer here. And we do get to exile their Jack-O-Lantern, keep them off a random 3rd color splash, but don't even know if they need that. We're mainly just getting a flyer out here, so we have the 5-turn clock. We can play a Famished Foragers here, discard this Mountain to draw a card off of the additional mana we get off of it. Seems spicy to me. Plains is the draw. I'd like to keep this in hand with the Foragers out, so we can discard that to draw another card. If we have nothing better to do next turn, we might even Bless Defiance for 2 more damage again just to play this Elementalist. It's possible. Well, I guess we could discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards with Foragers, which might be something better to do. Because Elementalist doesn't change our board state really at all. The only thing on our board that matters is the Gryph. Yeah, we're just gonna double discard here. But we'll do the next one in the end step, because no matter what we draw, we can't cast it this turn at this point, because we'll have no mana up. Probably should have attacked with Foragers too. Go for a big double block. So really good black-white deck we're facing against here. Again, some high-level competition, but our opponent kept the 1-lander here, and did get punished pretty hard for it. Lost several coin flips there, so not a fun time for our opponent game 1, but we saw Flesh Taker, Ecstatic Awakener, the 1-mana 1/1 first striker that comes back as a 2/1 flying first striker. In the graveyard, they had Diregraph Horde, the 5-mana 3/4 that spits out 2 decayed 2/2 zombies. An excellently designed black-white sacrifice deck on our opponent's boards. They have a very spicy deck over there. So we have to keep that in mind. Against black-white sacrifice, is there anything in our deck that's just really bad? Everything seems pretty fine to me. Cathar Commando, definitely not the greatest against that 1/1 first striker, but they're not guaranteed to have that every game. Although they also do tend to play cards that could make 1/1 tokens, cards that could be the 1/1 that gains life when they play cards. There are a lot of things they could have that would make a 2-mana 3/1 pretty bad. So we could just turn that into a 3-mana 3/2 instead. Like, we have enough 2-drops that's an okay thing to do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure, we'll change our 2-mana 3/1 into a 3-mana 3/2 here. What else do we want to do? That seems like pretty much it. I definitely like Soul Guide Gryph in this matchup. Get a flyer to get over their cluttered board state, and also potentially exile a Disturb card. Maybe giving just +3/+1 trample is big against a deck with a lot of little stuff. And that'd be a good way to clear out the first striker, stuff like that. So maybe we like +3/+1 trample more than +2/+0 and spit out a flyer, or more than +2/-2 removal. I don't know. I think I'll keep it as is now. But that's an option as well that could be pretty good here. I'll keep it in the back of my head for round 3 if we lose this one. Our opponent will be on the play here. This is a definite mulligan. This is a definite keep. 1 mana away from hitting Foragers. We got plenty of time to hit that. We've got some 3-drops. Now we even have a 2-mana card, although it's not a creature, so not really putting anything on the board, but we can Sacred Fire that Interloper and stay alive a little more that way. Never mind. We drew one of our 2-mana creatures, so we'll play that instead. With a Sacred Fire in hand to kill one of their creatures and gain some life, we're feeling pretty good about the race to where I don't think we need to just kill that immediately. I'd rather just keep dumping stuff out for now. I'll offer trade with Candlegrove Witch here. Witch for witch? Witch for witch it is. Perfectly balanced trade. This can get lifelink if we have Coven. However, this can just be a 4/4 at night. They are on 2 mana here. They played a 2-mana card turn 2 and turn 3, so they could get stuck on mana. If they get stuck on mana, they flip our Infiltrator for us. They do have a lot of cheap cards in the deck, though, so they are stuck on 2, but they have plenty to cast. Interloper, Candlegrove Witch, and Trapper here. Luckily, Trapper's small enough that Infiltrator gets in well, lets us cast our Foragers. Although, if we cast our Foragers, we're not really doing anything with the mana, because I don't want to discard any of these cards. That is a thing to consider. Do we still just want to play a 4/3 out, and then just let the mana fizzle? Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest creature we can put on this board. We could also pass to make this a 4/4 and then Sacred Fire during their turn to get rid of the Trapper. But then we only have one creature on the board still. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the Foragers. This is going to be a little weird, playing a Foragers and then not using its mana. Not even using its ability to discard and draw. It doesn't happen super often, but we just don't have any cards that we'd take a random card from our library over. Alright, does flip tonight there. They are stuck on mana again. Well, we go to combat. They trap something. We'll just go ahead and see what it is. Trap the assailant, sure. We attack for 4 with Foragers. We're going to go ahead and play our Flame Channeler and kill the Trapper. However, we will wait until their turn to kill it, because if I cast Sacred Fire during our turn, we'll have cast 2 spells. We would like our 4/4 trample to stay a 4/4 trample by keeping it nighttime. So we can just cast our second spell during their turn instead of ours. Well, our opponent is just not having the greatest luck here for sure. They're still stuck on 2 mana. That's got to be a really rough one for our opponent. This is the kind of thing I was talking about with that last deck, where like even the great decks like that one could just have a round like this. Yep, and our opponent scoops them up and heads out. Not much of a match there, not much of a round there. Definitely some feel bads for sure. But you know, when one person has a terrible time, somebody else does get some rewards for it. So at least we do get 1 player draft token here. That means this is the final draft challenge that I'm doing. As you can see, it ends in 4 hours. The sign up ends in like 1, so I probably won't even be able to sign up into another one. But yeah, one man's super sad game is another's free prize, I guess. So with 1 draft token at least out of this, that means we broke it even in the draft challenges. We had our first one being 3/2, so we got 2 tokens out of that, and then we got 3 tokens out of the second one we did. And you need to get 2 tokens out of each to break even, so that would be 5 tokens total. Now we've gotten 1 token out of this. That'd be 6 tokens total in 3 drafts. 6 divided by 3 is 2. That's breaking even the whole time, so feels pretty nice. Feels pretty nice, even if we get slammed in this one. I don't think our deck is that good. Our draft pod was pretty rough to navigate, I think. I could look back on it. I think our best deck, if I was prophetic, would have probably been like the blue-white Disturb deck, but even then, I didn't see a lot of blue creatures running around, I think, like the Shipwreck Sifters and stuff that really helped that deck operate. We did see the Gale Drifters for dang sure. We could have had a deck with a lot of Gale Drifters, gotten those late blue cards in pack 3, like the Revenge of the Drowned or whatever. So maybe blue-white, just stick to our Denic for dear life could be the best strategy we could do there. But I don't know. Certainly not a very clear draft pod for us here this time around. So Scab Wrangler is certainly annoying a card. We're probably going to Immolation that soon. I don't think we need to yet. We know our opponent's playing blue. They've cast a Consider to look at the top card of their library. They kept it there and drew a card, and then they played Scab Wrangler turn 2. Turn 3, they do play a Swamp, so blue-black it is. That is the best archetype for a Scab Wrangler. So this is definitely a high priority target for Immolation if they don't choose to block with this sometime soon. Because if this stays on the board, they can use their Decayed Zombies to just keep tapping our field down. It can be quite the annoying card to try to get through. And turn 3 from our opponent is a Hobbling Zombie, the 2/2 Death Toucher. Not super spicy against us, because we do have a lot of small creatures that would have traded for anyway, but still a generally spicy card. I think I just send in our 2/2 Flame Channeler in here. We're happy with either of these trades. And if they don't take them, just do some damage to our opponent and drop our 2/3 vigilance so they can't attack back at us. They are going to trade the Hobbling Zombie for the Flame Channeler, just get that out of the way. So here's our Morning Patrol, and our opponent's board is now a 2/1 Scab Wrangler and a 2/2 Decayed Zombie. 4th mana now. They have 4 cards in hand. They're eyeing our Morning Patrol. They might eat it alive with their Decayed Zombie, and that is exactly what they do. Sacrifice the Decayed Zombie to go ahead and exile the Morning Patrol. That means that we don't even get to recast it from the graveyard for its disturb cost. So a nice use of the Eaten Alive there, keep us off of a little bit of our value that way. We have no instants or sorceries in graveyard, so I would rather play a 4/3 than a 2/1. So here comes Famished Foragers. Not getting the life loss value, but that's fine. It would have just given us triple red that we wouldn't even have spent on something anyway. I guess we could have cast Immolation with it. But we can start using that ability next turn. The ability to discard and draw, that is. Alright, Organ Hoarder from our opponent. Another excellent deck here. Hobbling Zombie, Eaten Alive, Organ Hoarder, Larder Zombie, Scab Wrangler. All of the premier blue-black commons you're used to. Scab Wrangler being an uncommon, though. Definitely your classic blue-black zombies deck here from our opponent. So Organ Hoarder is their only creature to big enough to single-handedly kill our foragers, so are we at the point where we have to Immolation an Organ Hoarder? It's not a great point to be at. They also have 3 creatures on the board, so they can tap something down every turn. Play a Sunrise Cavalier now and start getting some counters whenever we don't cast spells. Plus we have a mana sink to not cast spells. We have the ability to discard and draw on the foragers. So we have something to do even when we're not casting stuff. I kind of like playing the Cavalier here. Just play the Cavalier, Immolation the Hoarder, maybe. If I just go for the Immolation on the Hoarder right now, they're going to tap down the Foragers. And then I could play the Cavalier and it gets in with haste. Just guaranteed. If I play Cavalier and then Immolation Hoarder, then they know everything that's on their board, and then they might not tap something down. If they don't tap something down, they have a 2/1 and a 1/3. Which means they could block the Cavalier well, but they could block the Foragers well too, but it'd be a 2-for-1 trade. I think I'd rather play Cavalier first, because they might choose not to tap the Foragers down, and if they choose not to tap the Foragers down, then we attack with exclusively the Foragers. And then if they want to take the 2-for-1 Scab Wrangler and Larder Zombie for Foragers, that's actually better for us than if we had just gotten in for the 3 damage with Cavalier. So we'll see if they do the math well here and then just tap down Foragers. No, they are going to take the trade here. They're fine with it. Or if they don't take the trade here, then they just didn't think it the whole way through. Alright, they did not think it the whole way through, so we got 1 extra damage there. But it's not like a big misplay or anything. Maybe they had the same idea as us, where they were like, let's make the play that opens up my opponents to playing a misplay. So they did that, and then they wanted it to be the play that opens us up to attacking with both. And if we attacked with both, then oh yeah, the double block is excellent for them. But we were never going to attack with both there. So one of those kind of back and forth little mind game interactions where we're both trying to get our opponent to play in a certain way, and we ended up there. Just get that 1 extra point of damage by waiting to Immolation until we had Cavalier on board. Because if we didn't have Cavalier on board, obviously, they would just be like, alright, we have 3 creatures on board, 1's about to die. Just tap down Foragers before they cast anything. Alright, so another eaten alive sacrificing a zombie to kill the Sunrise Cavaliers here. They have triple eaten alive over there. Triple eaten alive, Organ Hoarder, Hobbling Zombie, Diagraph Horde. Spicy, spicy decks we are playing against today. This is a draft I'm not going to be too disappointed to go 1 and 2 in, because I don't think our deck is that great, and our opponents are bringing it with some premium cards here. Ooh, they're tapping it down with Scab Wrangler. All right. Well, we're gonna die pretty fast here. Take 5 damage a turn. We're at 16. 5 damage a turn. It's gonna be a 3-turn clock. Unless they don't have a creature. I guess they don't have a creature, so they have to hold 3 of these up to keep tapping down the foragers. Oh, they do have a creature. They have a siege zombie here. They just did not feel particularly interested in chipping in for 2 more there, I suppose. Discard and draw with our foragers, and then we're gonna do it again. Foragers is putting in as much work as it can here, but things are not looking great. Soul Guide Griff. That will be nice in the future. Play with fire. That is not bad at all either. We can get rid of the Scab Wrangler with that so we can actually start attacking, but we're at the point we need to worry about blocking. We can't really block as long as Scab Wrangler's on board either, because it can tap down our blockers, so they hit for 7. We are down to 6 life here. If they attack with the Decayed Zombie as well, we're down to 4. Looks like this one might just be over. Just took too long to hit these cards off the foragers. Even if we kill the Wrangler so that we can actually have some creatures to block with. Oh, Blessed Defiance is actually just a massive draw. Gain 6 life off of the foragers here. Alright, so I think we definitely play with fire. Elementalist to pick up play with fire and then hold up Blessed Defiance. Or we could Elementalist to pick up play with fire and then just kill the Siege Zombie too, but then we're at 6 life. Facing the 3-4 and the 2-2. I guess our 4-3 blocks their 3-4. Our 2-1 blocks their Decayed 2-2, or we just let it through because it would die either way. They have 1 card in hand here. Elementalist to play with fire again could be enough to stabilize. Blessed Defiance is going to be a huge help there, though, because that life gain is really important at such a low life total against the kind of deck that could have... Oh, good lord, that is really rough. The counter spell that can exile the play with fire so we can't get it back. Not technically over yet because of Blessed Defiance, but yeah, this is the cream of the crop Dimir deck over here. Alright, well, Blessed Defiance it is then. I guess we can play our Soul Guide Griff instead, but if we play that, we're like Wrangler's definitely tapping our blockers down, so I think we have to just attack with foragers, get the life gain, Elementalist to pick up Defiance. That's just kind of what we have here to survive. If we have 2 blockers out, 3-4 and a 4-3, they tap down whichever one blocks better. So tap down the 4-3, then we have a 3-4 to block with. Or alternatively, they just start dealing 1 damage to us a turn with Siege Zombie. I guess they can only tap 1 thing down, so... Tap 1 thing down, they'll have 2 creatures to attack with. We're not dead if we just play a big blocker. Sure. Get the big old Soul Guide Griff, I suppose. Get rid of their cover-ups so they can't loop cover-ups forever if they have 2. I wonder if I have my emotes on. I always forget because I turn them off and on a lot. I do not have them on. Oh, if anybody's interested in this pet, this is the pet you get if you picked the correct world champion any year. I got this when I said that Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa was going to win 2 years ago. So I like that pet because it just reminds me. It just reminds me of like my favorite pro players. I do watch Pro Magic every now and then. It is way above my my level of comprehension, though. If I go to combat here, they tap one down. They go to their turn, they tap another down, we die on board. Guessing that's their plan. Go to combat, tap one down. The Soul Guide Gryph, I suppose, because that could actually attack well. So if their plan here is to tap the whole board down, then they do chip in for like 5 damage, because they tap these 3. And then they're attacking with a 3-4 and a 2-1. But we can play one more creature here with Dawn Guard or Elementalist. I think I'm again just in a position where I'm just unsure if I can ever block, so I'm considering attacking with Foragers. Because like if they really want to, like next turn, if they draw a creature, they can tap down Foragers and just get in there. I guess we are going to play another creature here. But I don't know, I feel like Foragers is more an attack than a block. Although if they just don't block, then it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, you know... Play Dawn Guard, hold Blessed Defiance. If they do attack. I guess a big reason to attack there, I wasn't even considering this because I'm not playing 4D chess, I'm over here playing checkers. I could have attacked with Foragers and slammed Blessed Defiance onto the Foragers. That would mean that when I played Dawn Guard, that'd be my second spell for the turn. We'd flip today and potentially draw a card off of that. That would have been a reason to go for the Blessed Defiance there. Ooh, Cathar Commando. Well, now we can also double spell. Excuse me. Now we can also double spell pretty easily because that only costs 2 mana. We don't have any instants and sorceries in graveyard, so we don't want to Ardent Elementalist, but we could Blessed Defiance Commando, I suppose. Combat. Soul Guide Gryph gets tapped. We attack with... Ooh. They're just going to try to tap down blockers. Alright, well. Get in there, Soul Guide Gryph. Although I want to cast Blessed Defiance here, and I don't really want to just get 5 damage in when I could get 6 in. I guess we can see how they block too. We might clear out some creatures, which is also good for us. Yeah. Just attack with the Foragers, actually. Because this way we either do 1 more damage or we clear out a couple creatures. Maybe they block with just Diregraph for it. I wouldn't expect that, but we don't know what's in our opponent's deck or hand, so there are plenty of things they could have in deck or hand that would make them want to do that. They could have like Crawl from the Cellar to bring Diregraph Horde back from the grave, recast it, and go ahead and get those 2/2 zombies again. All right, so we're gonna kill a Larder zombie and a Siege zombie here. Sure, I'm pretty happy with that, especially getting the Siege zombie off the board. And I'm also gonna cast Blessed Defiance. This is so I can cast 2 spells this turn, and also I will get a 1/1 flyer out of this, which is pretty big on this board state. They don't have any flyers yet. So before these creatures die, they're gonna go ahead and tap 3 to do something. They have 3 options. They have the Wrangler to tap something down, the Zombie to make us lose a life, or the Siege Zombie to make us lose a life, or the Larder Zombie to set up their draw step. Really, they are really showing off the mechanics of the blue-black zombie deck, because they have 3 different ways to tap 3 untapped creatures to do something, which is really nice. Those are Those are like the biggest way to use those decayed zombies in that sort of deck. We've one last chance to discard and draw, but don't really want to do it here. Alright, now we have 4 powers of flyers. We're going to dump a Cathar Commando down. I guess we could just dump Ardent Elementalist down and pick up Blessed Defiance now. Although, how many more good instants and sorceries do we have? We have Burn the Accursed still in the deck. Electric Revelation, that's not great. Sacred Fire is good. So just Sacred Fire and Burn the Accursed, that's like 2 left that I'd want to bring back. Out of 20 cards, 1 out of 10 cards. Yeah, no, let's just get the immediate impact value off of the Elementalist here. Get another 1/1 flyer out of it. Or they'll flip the switch. Well, they could have countered Cathar Commando with Flip the Switch too. We would have had 3 mana up after trying to cast it. Our Elementalist was slightly higher impact though, so it would have been correct to run out Cathar Commando if we were playing around more counter spells from our opponent. But I was not thinking of that. Alright, well now we're at 12, they're at 16. Things don't look super abysmal. If they cast nothing here, Dawnguard gets another check. We have a Lambhole Terrier, a Festival Crasher, and 2 Candlegrove Witches left in the deck, so we have 4 possible hits off of the Dawnguard. We're digging 4 cards deep. Out of this 20-card deck, 1 out of every 5 cards is a hit. So, again, slightly less than 50-50 at hitting something. I think. I don't know. Math is... I've probably said a bunch of highly incorrect math here. Math is some bogus. Alright, well. That is not a hit. Oh, we had Harvesttide Infiltrator as well. So we had exactly 1 out of every 4 cards was a hit. So 1 out of every 4 cards in the 20. And we're digging 4 cards deep. So that'd be, we'd hit on average. I was about to say, so probably slightly higher than 50-50, but I have no idea if that's right. I don't know how that percentages and shit works. Oh. What are we doing here? I guess just double spell to go again with Dawnguard here. They have 1 Scab Wrangler and a Diregraph Ward. We just send in the flyers. Although they're going to keep tapping down the Griff here, so I guess we're just hitting for 1 damage a turn. Eventually, we'll get there. If we ever draw our Sacred Fire, that actually really gets us out of this one. Just kill the Wrangler and start chipping in. I'm surprised, but things don't look that bad for us. We have more counter spells. It's a very counter-heavy deck over there. If they do. They do not have more counter spells. Oh, we only get to pick 1. Harrier's pretty nice here. We only have 6 mana, so we shut off 1 blocker a turn, but 1 blocker a turn is enough to get our whole ground troops in. So that's actually better than the flyer, in my opinion. Because they have 2 creatures that can block on the ground, right? They're going to spend 3 to tap down our 3 flyer. So they just have a 3/4 to block with, and we just make it so it can't block, and then bam. Just shut off all of their blocks. And then now if they choose not to tap 3 things down, to tap one of our flyers, then we just get in with our flyers instead. Yeah, Lambhole Terrier actually looks excellent on this board state. When they have 2 creatures that can block, and if they want to tap down one of our cards, they have to tap down one of their creatures that can block. They're just going to send in the Horde. Alright, go for it. Down to 9. Blessed Defiance was super huge for us, that life gain being very important to allow us to just freely take damage like that. To keep all our stuff on the board, play around whatever random nonsense they're going to try to do to kill our stuff. And also so we can crack back with the maximum number of creatures after they've tapped down one of their blockers. Eaten alive. Get rid of the Gavany Dawnguard. Alright. So they get one activation from Scab Wrangler, which shuts off one of our attackers. That's the same thing that would happen if they just blocked with the Wrangler, except this way they don't lose the Wrangler. So, all right, slam down the Harrier. They tap down one of our 3-power things and we just send on in. I guess we are pretty worried about dying to the Decayed Zombies now. We're at 9 life. They have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power on the board. Go to combat. So they tap down the Soul Guide Griff. I think we want to hold back the 1/1 flyer, because if we attack with all 3 of these, then we're dead to a single removal spell, because they have 9 power on their board. And it's only 1 extra damage by sending it in, so I don't think it's worth the risk. Just hit for 6, put them down to 9 life here. And then if we hit a land, they're just dead next turn, right? Because they tap 1 card down, so they probably tap this down, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Exact lethal if we hit a land to tap both those down. Yeah, so it's still possible lethal next turn, sending in for just 6 instead of 7. So we'll play it safe this way. So 3 cards in hand for our opponent. I don't know what they've got here. Maybe they've just been sandbagging removal spells to finish us off. They're just going to cast 2 of them right now, clear our board, and send in for 9 with their 3/4 Horde, 2/1 Wrangler, and 2/2 Decayed Zombies. They're going into the think tank here. They know that they are facing potential lethal if they don't do something. Big decisions here, and they have potential lethal against us if they have the right combination of cards in hand. So a lot could happen here. Blade Brand, gonna go ahead and cycle the Blade Brand, giving a Decayed Zombie Death Touch and drawing a card. So they're just cycling the Blade Brand there, no reason for the Death Touch. Our blockers are only a 2/2 and a 1/1 that would die anyway. They're just trying to draw into an out here, I think. Attack with just the Diregraph Horde. Alright, that makes it lethal for us, even if we don't draw a land. If they don't have removal, we just shut off their 1 blocker, they tap down our best creature, and we hit them with everything else. If they do have removal, they just kill the Lambhole Terrier, and then they also tap down our 3/4 flyer, and then we're only hitting for 7. I am not going to block this, because if I do, I don't have exact lethal next turn. And I don't see what they could have to do 6 damage on top of that 3. Alright, 5 mana up, 2 cards in hand. Only 1 blocker on their board. Our opponent has less than 15 minutes left in their match timer, and it's game 1. I didn't even realize a match timer was a thing. This has been a long one. Oh, Sacred Fire is huge. This turns this from probable lethal to just definite lethal, right? So we just go to combat. 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we don't have the mana to flash it back anyway, so we might as well... well, no, because they could have flipped the switch or something. So let's just go to combat and see what happens. See if they want to tap something down or if they want to block something. They only have 1 blocker. Revenge of the Drowned. So they shut off something there. Tap something with Wrangler. So this can't attack in. They tap down 1 creature, so they tap this down. We hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-8. We don't have lethal anymore. But we definitely kill them next turn, so as long as Sacred Fire keeps us alive, we're good, right? So yeah, this definitely happens. I actually don't want that on top because I'm just going to recast Sacred Fire. Wrangler does its thing. Tap down the Infiltrator. Oh, and they're going to hold it back as a blocker too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if we Sacred Fire. If they want to block with Wrangler, that's pretty cool with me. So at 6 life, we'll be at 8 life if I cast Sacred Fire. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I do want to hold back 2 blockers here probably. So I think I'm just going to attack with Commando. We go for lethal next turn. No blocks, okay. And now before they untap, so they can't tap any of our stuff down, I'm going to Sacred Fire the Wrangler. Okay. If they can't kill this Lambhold Harrier, Triska Decaphile, that's a big one. A 1-3 to block with, and it can draw them extra cards for 4 mana apiece. Alright, they're drawing a card holding 1 black mana up. Do they have 4 Eaten Alives in their deck then? If they need specifically 1 black held up here, they might have 4 Eaten Alives. I probably should have kept the flyer on top. My consideration was that I think I have more cards with better immediate impact than that, like Ardent Elementalist is huge, Burn the Accursed is huge. But, I mean, a 3-4 flyer, if I can't just immediately kill them, that's very high impact. So maybe should have kept it. They have 1 black mana up here. They're sending in all the Decayed Zombies. We take 6, go to 2 life. What could they have that would finish us off for 1 black mana? I don't think there's a card. I think we take it all. Down to 2. All the Decayed Zombies are gone. Oh yeah, a basic land also is just more high impact than the Griff because we shut off both blockers with that. But I guess I didn't know they had 2 blockers when I made the decision to put the Griff on the bottom. Alright, now they have 2 mana up. Go to our turn. Do we hit a basic? We hit a basic, shut off both blockers. With 2 mana, they could Geist Wave and just demolish our soul. But they have 1 card in hand. That card would have to be exactly Geist Wave. Or Olivia's Midnight Ambush. And if it was Midnight Ambush, they would have got Harrier already. If it was Geist Wave, they would have probably hit Harrier already. Send in. Oh my god, a victory. In game 1, a really long-fought battle. That was an excellent deck from our opponent. Lots of great cards for the archetype, but we just managed to grind it out with some good repeatable effects. Foragers helped a lot early game, and Lambhold Harrier late game was massive. Sacred Fire, obviously, an incredible draw there, but wow. Very long game. As you can see, our opponent got even hit with the match timer after that game, so... All right, we'll start this round off with 1 win under our belt. Might not be the 1 and 2 today. We've got a shot in this round, surprisingly enough. And yeah, overall, I'd say the deck, pretty much everything in here operated pretty well. Immolation, definitely great against their Scab Wrangler type cards. Blessed Defiance, the life gain mattered a lot. Give us more time. Give them less opportunities to hit for lethal with those Decayed Zombies. Took them just too long to kill us there. We ended at 2 life, which means the life gain did save us. And of course, the 1/1 flyer helped a lot too, chipping in for more damage. So I'm pretty cool running it back as is. Okay. Our opponent is on the play. This is a little bit of a sketchy hand, but we are on the draw. If we hit a third mana, we can Electric Revelation, which will draw us, hopefully, whatever we need at the time, which will probably be more mana, being what we need. But we've got our turn 2 creature. We have both colors of mana. I am going to keep this one. And now we have 2 burn spells with our Flame Channeler, so we might be able to flip it and then also draw a card off of it with the Flame counter on Embodiment of Flame that lets us exile the top card of our library and play it that turn. We, of course, get the Flame counter by dealing burn damage to something once it's already flipped. Alright, so we do have the 3rd mana to Electric Revelation here. They have a Hobbling Zombie and a Larder Zombie out, so if we attack in, they could just block with Larder Zombie, so not a big point in doing it, but then we could play with Fire the Larder Zombie or Blessed Defiance to kill it. But we could also end up just trading with Hobbling Zombie, which I don't love, since we can flip the Channeler here. So I'm kind of interested in just flipping the Channeler with Play with Fire, then it's a 3/3 that can attack into the Larder Zombie without dying. So let's go for it. Play with Fire, get rid of the Hobbling Zombie, we don't have to worry about a Death Toucher on their board, and now we have a 3/3 to attack in that is large enough to where it can't get blocked by a Larder Zombie. So we do hit for 3 that turn. They're down to 17 with a 1/3 Larder Zombie and a 2/2 Decayed Zombie on board. 5 cards in hand with 3 mana out. Overwhelmed Archivist is the play. We did not see that last round, and we saw quite a few cards. But that is a nice one. 3 mana for a 3/2, draw a card, discard a card, and they can recast it from the graveyard for 4 mana as a 2/1 flyer that draws and discards a card every time it attacks. Okay, so pass to our turn here. We do hit the 4th mana for an Ardent Elementalist here. Ardent Elementalist to pick up a Play with Fire seems super spicy. Super fine with me, especially with Embodiment of Flame on board to draw us cards as we're doing stuff, so I kind of like that as the play here. Don't really want to offer a trade with Embodiment of Flame when we could be drawing cards off of it later, so Elementalist, go ahead and pick up a Play with Fire here. Gonna be quite nice for us, but we are no longer aggressive when they have an Archivist on board to block with. Alright, so Larder Zombie's going off now. They do have 3 creatures on the board after that Archivist is hit. So they look at the top card, it's a Siege Zombie, they don't want to draw that. Looks like they're probably digging for a 5th land. Keeping an eye on our timers here, I am trying to play a little bit faster because I'm mildly worried about our timer, but our opponent is playing a little slower than us. They've got 2 minutes less than we do, so I don't have to worry too hard. But if this game ends in a victory for our opponent, then our timers here could matter a lot. And, you know, Ardent Elementalist, pretty small on the board. A 2/1, never going to get past that Larder Zombie, that 1/3 body, so I'll go ahead and crack it just to get rid of the first half of their Overwhelmed Archivist. They might bring it back as the second half, the Archive Hunt, but if they do, we've got the Play with Fire all set up. Oh no, they have a second Overwhelmed Archivist? Very nice from our opponent. Alright, another 3/2, draw a card, discard a card. Comes back again as that 2/1 flyer that draws and discards whenever it attacks. Really liking our opponent's deck. They have 1 black mana up, which means Burn the Accursed should be uncounterable for them. I don't expect them to have a 1 black mana counter, so I'm going to cast it here. By casting it on the Archivist, we'll exile the Archivist, so that one won't come back at least, and we'll get a Flame counter on the Embodiment of Flame to draw a card off of it next turn. And we have a 3/3 out, and they won't have anything big enough to block it anymore, so we get to start hitting them for 3 a turn again. Plus, of course, Burn the Accursed hits them for 2, so they're down to 15 now, and 12 after the hit from Embodiment of Flame. So that is quite nice. Really loved hitting that 5th mana there, so Diregraph Horde, unfortunately for us, going to exile our Burn the Accursed, so we can't bring that back with our Ardent Elementalist, but we do, of course, still have a Play with Fire here that we can bring back with our second Elementalist, which will be fun. You know, none of these cards in hand are all that spicy, so I'm just going to go ahead and see what we hit with Embodiment of Flame. Now that they have a 3/4 out, I need to cast 2 Play with Fires in 1 turn if I want to kill the Diregraph Horde, and that is just not going to happen. So, yeah, hit the top card. It's a Candlegrove Witch. Seems like a fine cast to me. If I don't cast it, it goes away forever, so we definitely cast it here. This is a game where we're really just getting to try to go off with Embodiment of Flame. So I am going to play the land here so we have access to Revelation if we want to cast it, maybe discarding Blessed Defiance. I still really like keeping Embodiment of Flame on this board because we do have that next play with Fire to clear out their 2/1 flyer. Not supposed to be a rhyme, but I suppose it is. I'm thinking we just pass the turn here against this 3/4. They've got a lot of 2/2 Decayed Zombies too, and at least our 3/3 will hold those back from attacking at us. And if Diregraph Horde attacks us, then we just get to Bless Defiance on our 2/2 and have the 2/2 trade up into it, and that'll be a way to get that out of here, which will be nice. So we're getting some good value off of our Embodiment of Flame, but our opponent, of course, getting good value off of Larder Zombie. It's going to be another definitely interesting game here. A lot of decisions throughout. So there was an argument definitely for holding the third land in hand because it's unlikely that we want to just cast Revelation here. And by having a land in hand, we have something we're definitely okay discarding to it. Ooh, Eaten Alive, going to get rid of our Embodiment of Flame. Not super happy about that, but that does resolve. But anyways, another reason I wanted that land out is I do want double red so that I can play a Play with Fire and Art on Elementalist in the same turn. Because that seems pretty important to me. Alright, we're going to take the trade up with Blessed Defiance here. They might have the counterspell for it, which would be a sad time. Actually, yeah, I should have played that differently. That was definitely not the way to play that. I should have cast Blessed Defiance before I sent blocks in, because we saw that our opponent has at least 2 counterspells in their deck, and with 2 counterspells in the deck, if they counter that Blessed Defiance, we're having a real bad time. We just lose the Candlegrove Witch for nothing. So we should have cast Blessed Defiance before we declared the block. And I was not thinking of that interaction there. Alright, so another Diregraph Horde here, so they just have another 3/4 out, but that's the last card in their hand. The only other thing we have to worry about is the flying version of the Archive Haunt, so I'm feeling pretty good here. We're going to have enough creatures to just multi-block this Diregraph Horde to try to kill it, or block it and Play with Fire it. If we hit one more red source, we could also Play with Fire, Elementalist, Play with Fire to get rid of it. So that's a thing too. I think I just want to play Gavany Dawnguard here. Hold up Play with Fire or Revelation. But Diregraph Horde is just going to get in here for a little while, because I don't want to lose the Dawnguard to try to get rid of it, because we do have 1, 2, 3... We've got like 4 or 5 cards to hit with it in our deck. So they're down to 12. Wow. All right, well, this is probably the only recording today. Oh, good lord. We're down to 12, and we are hitting for 1 in the sky every turn with the flyer, so that's good. All right, Diregraph Horde coming in for 3. We're down to 21. Blessed Defiance putting in work here too, for sure. There is the Archive Haunt. We do have the 1/1 flyer to just trade with that, so we might not Play with Fire it, because we could, again, double Play with Fire if we hit another red source to get rid of the Diregraph Horde, which would be big. Then we get to start attacking with the 3/3 on the ground. So I think I'm going to hold off on the Play with Fire here. Alright, we don't get the red source. In which case, do I just go ahead and roll out the Play with Fire? Yeah, because now we have a 2/3 on the ground too, so we can start more easily stacking up multiple blocks on the Diregraph Horde. So with 6 mana up here, we play Morning Patrol and Play with Fire the Archive Haunt. And then I guess we could just double block the Diregraph Horde. At this point, it's only going to kill one of our cards. Sure, it's going to kill the Dawnguard, but just take the good on-board trade there that way. So here's Morning Patrol. If they trade for the 1/1 flyer, then I guess I won't Play with Fire their flyer. So Larder Zombie milling a swamp from their library. Definitely setting up for them to have better draws than us. That's what the Larder Zombie's all about. 2 mana up, we will try to Play with Fire the Archive Haunt now. Alright, and they are just going to go ahead and use Larger Zombie again, and they mill another land. Luckily for us, though, we have a pretty good way to use any lands that we hit. We have Electric Revelation. We can use that twice. Just get rid of a land to draw 2 cards, thanks to the flashback. So we can't draw particularly poorly either, thanks to that. Unfortunately, our opponent does draw very well here. They hit the next Eaten Alive to go ahead and get rid of the Gavany Dawnguard. We no longer have a double block to kill the Horde, so we'll take 3 down to 18 here. And they have 4 mana up, so they could have a Devious cover-up. I'd rather have an Elementalist get countered than a Sacred Fire, so we're just going to slam down an Elementalist here and try to pick up Play with Fire. They might cover it up here. No. Alright. So we do get Play with Fire back. Now they know if they block the Morning Patrol with Larder Zombie, that we can kill the Larder Zombie, so they're not going to do that. We're just going to get in for max damage here. Hit for 3, they're down to 7. Multiple burn spells in hand, feeling pretty good. Maybe they will still go for the block, because that means we're throwing the damage there instead of their face. Alright, no block. So hit for 3, and pass the turn. So they're at 7 life. We have 6 points of direct damage in hand. We have 2 from Play with Fire and 4 from Sacred Fire if we cast it and flashback it. They didn't have a counterspell last turn. They could have one this turn. So we'll see. And they don't attack with Diregraph Horde here. Do we just go for the Play with Fire on the face, see if it gets countered, and get the Scry off of it? If they don't have a counterspell, Sacred Fire on the face is really good here. But if they do, it's terrible, because it could be their Exile counterspell. I think I just hold on to it, because we can also like throw it at creatures to finish them off. Send in the squad, have our 2 damage spells to kill their Diregraph Horde and their Larger Zombie when they make blocks. And they only know about 1 of our 3 ways to deal 2 to something, so they cannot possibly counter all 3 of these. They only have 2 cards in hand. Okay, so I'm guessing no counterspell in hand from our opponent if they choose to block this way, because otherwise they could just block with the Diregraph Horde and then just counter whatever burn we try to use there. So they're getting hit to lethal if they don't have a counterspell. So we're going to go for it here. Hit for 3 on the board that puts them to 4 life. Play with Fire plus Sacred Fire is the final 4 damage to their face. Let's see. Casting the Play with Fire first, because we're less worried about that getting countered. Alright, that happens. Scry at the bottom. Sacred Fire now. Do we close this one out with the burn spells to the face? Or do they have counter unless we pay 4? They have counter unless we pay 4. We still kill them in our draw step here. If they don't immediately hit another counter spell, then we just untap, draw, flashback a Sacred Fire for 2 to face. They're digging. Here's a consider. Mill 1, draw 1. They've dug really far to find one. A Diregraph Horde would do it too. Exile the Sacred Fire from our graveyard. They're looking over their board state, thinking it through. This is a big turn. Send in those Decayed Zombies. We'll take that 8. We'll take 11, sure. No blocks. Down to 7. Corpse Cobble, sacrifice those 2, make them something big. That could be it. There's the concession from our opponent. So 2-0 in that round against that pretty sweet blue-black deck. I'm honestly surprised. Our deck did way better than I ever expected it to, at least in that game, in that round. So that does mean 2 wins. We get a player draft token and a few packs on top. Again, we already have our 1 loss, so we're 2-1 right now. A single loss will kick us out of this event, but now we're getting at least a little bit on top of breaking even overall, if you count the last 2 draft challenges. So yeah, feeling pretty sweet here. And no matter what, this deck at least did 50-50 here. Oh, this is a mulligan. This is a keep, and we'll get rid of a red source here. We do have a double white card, but no double red card. This hand's actually pretty nice. We start on turn 2, have a great turn 2 and turn 3 play with a combat trick alongside it. Our opponent's still making their mulligan decisions here. So they must have a tough choice here. I would expect not a 7 land hand or a 0 land hand then, at least. So we are on the play, so they are on the draw, which can make up for mulligans. So they start with a mountain. They're playing red here. We start out with our turn 2 Lamb-Hole Terrier, the 2/2 with a great late game ability to shut off blockers, and a mirror match it is. Red and white from our opponent as well. Immolation on the Harrier. Exactly the kind of thing that our deck would play around with. So Harvesttide Infiltrator, turn 3, our 3/2 trample. That's a 4/4 during the night. Three mana from our opponent as well. And Harvesttide Infiltrator, very much the mirror match today. We can Ardent Elementalist with nothing to bring back with it. That's not great. Let's just attack with Infiltrator. See if we're trading 3/2s for 3/2s. That looks like a no to me. Let's let it go to nighttime. I guess they are going to hit us before we hit them, which is kind of a thing here. But I'd rather do that than cast the Elementalist, because now we have a good play lined up for turn 5 of Blessed Defiance. Pick it up with Elementalist. We no longer do. Borrowed Time will just go ahead and exile our Harvesttide Assailant until we get rid of that Borrowed Time, and our only way to do that is our 3/1. If we sacrifice our 3/1, we can destroy an enchantment. Another Elementalist here. All right, some awkward cards to have with the double Elementalist here. So things are not looking wonderful here. So here comes their 4/4 Harvesttide Assailant. We'll go ahead and try to get the Blessed Defiance off. I don't think it really matters here, but we'll do it before. Well, yeah, because that has trample. If they blow this up after it's declared the block, we take all the damage anyway, so might as well pre-combat, I guess. Doesn't really matter here. If they have the cheap burn spell to kill, they're going to use it before the Blessed Defiance goes off. Alright, then they just choose to use the combat trick before, so we know not to block here. Alright. Sure, I guess we could still block, and the Elementalist just becomes a 1/1, and we gain 4 life. So go to 10, or go to 15, and get a 1/1, turn our 2/1 into a 1/1 flyer. You know, I think I'm still blocking here. Because now we only take 1 damage total, and it's like our 2/1 just turns into a 1/1 flyer. Still a good block for us. Just makes our 2/1 a little worse. We've got another 2/1 coming up right now. Or Clarion Cathars, but I think I'd rather have a 2/1 out to block their 3/2 than a 3/3 to do so. Elementalist to pick up that Blessed Defiance. Start sending him at the flyer. Well, we do need to double block to get rid of Brimstone Vandal, but if we double block, we lose both these creatures, which is not great. Yeah, we just don't have good blocks for Vandal. We'll let Vandal chip on in, but the Infiltrator will block with Elementalist. Just hold on to Blessed Defiance. Or we could just use it for, again, just gain 4 life. 1 mana, gain 4 life, make a 1/1 flyer. Even if you're not winning the combat, like, that's kind of a deal. Like, imagine if there was a card that was just 1 white mana, gain 4 life, make a 1/1 flyer. That'd be a good card. Alright, our opponent respects it. They are not going to trade their Infiltrator into the Elementalist. We'll just take the 2 menace damage there. And now slam down a Clarion Cathars, holding onto this land in case we hit one of our famished foragers, so we can start trying to draw into something spicy. But thanks to the Cathars, that's 2 creatures in 1. Now we can actually block something with Menace. Well, we're sitting pretty comfortable here. We even have Blessed Defiance to throw in our 3/3, make it a 5/3 to block their 6/5. So we kind of have, we've evened out the board state, and we can just keep hitting them for 1 a turn. That being said, they have more cards in hand than us, so they have more cards to play around with that could definitely add to their board state and make it better than ours. But for now, not casting anything, just going to go ahead and make it nighttime so that they have a 4/4 trample and a 6/5 on the board. So some spicy stuff there. Some threatening stuff. But Morning Patrol's a nice draw for us, a 2/3 Vigilance that will come back as a 2/1 Flying Vigilance. So it helps double block to kill something, and then helps add to our clock, start hitting them for 3 damage a turn in the sky. Very nice. Alright, well, let's see if Cathars can just block Smasher here. Looks like it. Yep. Another Brimstone Vandal. So they've got a board of Menace creatures out there, but you've got a pretty cluttered board state to try to block them well, and Burn the Accursed, a sweet draw as well. So we have that as a backup whenever we need it. So if we attack with Morning Patrol here, they could double block with 2 Vandals to just kill it, but then we get to turn into a 2/1 flyer, which is not bad at all. Mystic Skull's a little scary. For 5 mana, they tap it, turn into a 5/6. They have the 5 mana, so they're going to have a 5/6 out, so I don't really want to burn the Accursed here, because I want to hold it for their 5/6. We block it with a 1/1 and burn it, and it'll die permanently. So yeah, in order to cast a spell here to not make it nighttime, I guess we could attack with Morning Patrol, turn into a 2/1 flyer, speed up the clock. But they could also just bounce off one of their Vandals if they want to. Yeah, no, maybe it's not right, because this is also a pretty good blocker, because it blocks and then comes back, so yeah, I guess just make the Infiltrator be a 4/4 here, take the 2 damage from the Vandals, that's fine. They don't have the giant 6/5 anymore, so nighttime isn't that scary. Well, if something really funky fresh happens here, we can burn this thing, so I think we can just go for the double block. We lose the Elementalist here and the Patrol, but then we bring back the Patrol. This is okay. Yeah. Alright. Just trades it is. The Vandals are getting scary again, though. We are chipping away our board. Ooh, play with fire. Spicy. We can hold that up even after casting an Apparition here, which is very nice. We are certainly going to have to burn the Accursed that Mystic Skull, though. That thing is getting transformed right now. So we'll have to chump block it for a turn, probably. We could make it daytime if we play with fire right now, but there's nothing good to play with fire, and we take 2 more damage from the Vandals, so I think let's just not. So Mystic Skull going to be a 5/6 now. Our 3/1 Clarion, not Clarion, Cathar Commando are going to be good in this matchup because they can kill Borrowed Time and they can kill the Mystic Skull. Actually, kind of wish I took another one of those. I didn't value them super highly, but best of 3 being able to add a couple more from the sideboard actually is pretty nice. And specifically this kind of matchup, our opponent has some high value artifact enchantments here for sure. So the Brimstone Vandals are just going to be free to send in from like this turn on, which is pretty scary. Ooh, Soul Guide Griff 2, so our flyers aren't getting it anymore. Do we have to burn that and just try to outrace here? Be hard to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put them to 4 life this turn. 1 more turn and we kill them. I think we try to outrace here. Just outrace the monstrosity. Ooh, but if they double spell plus with Lunarch Veteran, that's going to be incredibly hard to do because now we're going to go down to 10 here. With 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage on the board, we have to block something. Or we have to burn something with Play with Fire. Alright, yeah, it's flipping today. We're taking 2, going down to 10. Immolation. Okay. So we can burn the Soul Guide Griff. If we burn the Soul Guide Griff, they go down to 8. We then hit them for 4 damage in the sky. They go down to 4 life. At 4 life, we can hit them for 2 with these and 2 with Play with Fire, and finish them off. So we can do that, chump block the 5/6, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and kill them next turn. I think that's our plan. If they just hit a land off the top or another creature or something, we win. I guess the issue with that is Lunarch Veteran could gain them a life that way. But we can't stop this from gaining them a life, because if we try to get this to not gain them a life, the best way to do that would be to kill it, and if we kill it, it comes back as a flyer, and if they have a flyer on the board, we can't get in next turn anymore, because we'll trade there. So they need to not have a creature on top. They need to like not have a creature or a removal spell. We're going pretty all in on this, but I think this is just our best shot here. Because like the alternative is to sit here and try to block and burn that. If we block and burn that, we don't have enough power to kill the Griff unless we multi-block. Or I guess it would be block, burn it with the 1/1 and the 5 damage, right? And then block, burn that with the 2 damage. And then we have a 1/1 left against 2 2/3 menaces and a 1/1. We're just at a losing position there by a lot. I think this is definitely our best shot. We'll see what they drew here. If they drew removal, we'd die. If they drew a creature, they survive. Go to 1 life now. We go to 1 life if we don't block, but they're playing red. Oh yeah, and if they just pass the turn and it goes to night, we take 2 damage from the Vandals. So yeah, we super have to block here. Super duper have to block here. Alright, down to 4. No removal, please. Looks like no removal to me. Do we get there? Oh my god, we get there. Alright, well that was a spicy game 1. The mirror match there. The start was really awkward, I think, for both of us, but once we got to the end there, we both had a lot of cards playing around on the board. Things got pretty back and forth. Really could have gone either way. So that was pretty cool. I think I'm going to just keep the deck the same again. I like just the basic standard build that we have going here. A lot of combat going to be happening here, so combat tricks are solid. Again, if we had more Cathar Commandos, we would slam them in this matchup, but just have the one. You could get rid of like a random big old Dread Knight for another cheap combat trick. Just do a minor modification like that, I'd be fine with, but I'm just going to run it back here. So 1-0 in round 4. I'll keep this. It is a lot of lands, but I do not think it's worth a mulligan. Here we have some early game plays. We have early interaction and a creature on turn 2, and then a creature on turn 4. So we even have something to do with the lands that are currently in hand. We don't want to draw too many more, but we do have 2 Famished Foragers and Electric Revelation in this deck that can help out in any mana flood situations. And there's one of the Famished Foragers, so that is sweet. So opponent on the play this time, they go turn 1 Mountain, turn 2 Plains, into Lambholt Harrier. I think I just want to Immolation that thing, but if we just play a 1-3, we can block it for a while, so we'll hold off on the Immolation, but it's probably going to happen in the future, and we're drawing great so far. Have not drawn a single land, so we do have now a turn 3 play of Harvesttide Infiltrator. Again, another turn 4 play of the Famished Foragers. Lots of great options here. And Ritual Guardian is the play from our opponent on turn 3. That's a 3/2, and as long as they have Coven, which is 3 different power of creatures, that will have lifelink when it attacks. So they don't have it yet, but they will definitely in the future. I think I'm just going to keep curving out with creatures, although we could play Flame Channeler and Immolation here, which is solid. The question there would be, would I rather kill the Harrier or the Guardian? Harrier's scarier late game. Guardian's more important early game, but also if we keep their board pretty small, they're unlikely to have Coven. Yeah, the best play here might be just Channeler plus Immolation, and then turn 4 we can try to Foragers into Infiltrator. That would be really spicy if it happens. I guess even just playing Infiltrator here, then turn 4 we could go Foragers into Channeler and Immolation, which would also be spicy. Plus, by having a Trampler out, it's more likely that we hit them next turn. Let's go for that. Yeah, Harvesttide Infiltrator here. We can cast the other 2 cards next turn off of the additional 3 mana that comes from the Foragers if we damage our opponent. Although they do just have Candle Trap for Infiltrator, so that will not be damaging them. It also won't really be blocking until it flips into a 4/4, because it doesn't do damage anymore. Yeah, so it's just like 1 chump block, so we'll just take the 3. Alright, well, we are certainly less likely to hit them now. We just attack with Festival Crashers, and they probably just block. But they know if we have an instant, if we had Play with Fire here, we'd have a beautiful attack. Because if they block, we kill the Guardian and the Harrier. And if they don't block, we just play Foragers. Unfortunately for us, we don't have that. But they might not know that. They might just not block here. Because things could go real poorly if they do. Alright, awesome. And they don't block because they know what our deck's capable of. I think that's a super fine choice by them. They don't know what's in their hand. So 3 mana. Drop Channeler, bam, drop Immolation. They still only have 2 creatures on board, so I'm not actually that worried about Harrier. We have plenty of blockers too, so shutting off 1 a turn isn't going to matter for a long time, so I'm just going to kill the bigger creature that they have there with our Immolation. Foragers was absolutely massive this game. Even if it does just get immediately Candle Trapped like that, we still get to use its ability to filter away our lands, and we got to use its ability to just get that 3 mana rebate to dump out Flame Channeler and Immolation, so really liking what our deck's doing this game. Our opponent is down to just a Lambholt Harrier on their board. We're just going to slam down our biggest card here, Clarion Cathars for sure. Just send in the Crasher. Probably don't block. We have enough burn in the deck that I don't really want to attack with Channeler, even though it would just trade. I mean, this makes it really clear that that I don't have a trick if I'm not attacking with Channeler too, so. The Festival Crasher attack is free because we have a just an infinite blocker for the Harrier, a 0-3 basically to block it all day long. So, plus we're gonna have a million more creatures here with Clarion Cathars hitting the board. Cool. So our opponent has 3 cards left in their hand, 4 mana on the board, and a single 2/2. We have a massive board state, but 2 of our creatures are candle trapped. So we really just have Festival Crasher, Flame Channeler, Cathars, and a 1/1. They do hit their 5th mana here. And a Burn the Accursed on the Clarion Cathars, just kill our biggest creature. Just get that off the board. Ardent Elementalist is the draw here, but we haven't drawn any instants or sorceries yet, so we're not really going to do anything with that for now. We're just going to play a Lambhole Terrier. And at this point, 1 card in hand here. We'll just start offering the trade all day long. Attacking with Crasher and Channeler. That way, if they do choose to block the Channeler, we still get in for 1 damage. Still holding this land in hand here, because we only have 2 5-mana cards in this deck. So, if I don't hit a 5-mana card, then eventually I will want to just filter these lands away, even at 4 lands on board. I suppose we have Sacred Fire as well. That's a 6-mana card in the grave. Ooh, Sunrise Cavalier. Super spicy when we're flipping between day and night. Yeah, spicy stuff. Put it out, and then we're not attacking with that because they could double block to trade. Although if they double block to trade, they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then they'll get that back as a 1/1 flyer. Yeah, you know what? Let's just get fully aggressive here. And they just scoop them up. They are not a fan of how the draws are going this game for them. So 2-0 that round. That means we're getting 2 player draft tokens out of this event. Guaranteed. Denny's is not as bad as it looked. That's pretty flavorful, because I think that's kind of the reality of the situation in the real world. All right, so 3 wins and 1 loss, 2 player draft tokens, 6 packs no matter what. Already getting a good amount of value out of this event. Can we get any more wins? A single loss will kick us out entirely, so I'm going to do the best that I can here. But I'm already very happy with how this Denny's has turned out. All right, super keepable hand here. We have Play with Fire with Ardent Elementalist, one of our best cards to combo with that. We do have a turn 2 play, Candlegrove Witch. Very happy with this hand. All right, our opponent is playing blue. We do start out with our turn 2 Candlegrove Witch. Double blue from our opponent, and Shipwreck Sifters is the first play. Draw a card, discard a card. If it's a Disturb card or a Spirit, that will get a +1/+1 counter and turn into a 2/3. They do discard a Devoted Graphkeeper, so they can bring that back for 3 mana as a 3/1 flyer, the Departed Soulkeeper. So pretty scared of this matchup. These blue-white value town decks can go really well with all their Disturb stuff. They'll basically never run out of cards if their decks are built well, and these Shipwreck Sifters can just get so big so fast. Even just being a 2-mana 2/3 is so big against our deck. So an Ominous Roost as well. They are very much the blue-white graveyard value town deck, the deck that we might have been able to end up in, but definitely not as good as their deck is looking here, because we just did not see like the Shipwreck Sifters and stuff to support that sort of strategy too often, going late at all. Well, we have hit exclusively lands as our draws so far this game, which is not particularly exciting, and it is going to make the Elementalist a lot more awkward. I guess mainly what they've played is making the Elementalist more awkward, because we just have not cast Play with Fire so far, because we're not going to want to use it to 2-for-1 ourselves to kill Sifters. So there's really nothing we want to kill with it. We could kill a bird token, but we can also kill a 3/1 flyer instead. So we're just going to kind of wait until hopefully they play something better here. They are I think likely to play the 3/1 flyer here, because if they do, they play a 3/1 flyer and Ominous Roost activates, giving them another 1/1 flyer. So yeah, this is the deck here. Scary stuff from our opponent. Things are looking really bad this game, but let's at least try to survive as long as we can to get as good of a grasp on their deck as possible for potential sideboarding options. But that is really all this hand can do, is just try its best to survive. Another Shipwreck Sifters. Very nice. And a Morning Patrol is the discard that comes back as a 2/1 Flying Vigilance for 4 mana. Now their first Shipwreck Sifters is a 3/4, second one's a 2/3. Kind of comboing off here. We can kill one, although they know we have the Play with Fire, so this would be a little suspicious, but still gonna go for the block here and see if we can get this thing off the board. Probably not, is what I would say. Startle, give it -2, -0, and they draw a card. Another Candlegrove Witch, not going to be enough. I think I'm just going to run out of land and see if they cast any more spells. At this point, we're just guaranteed to lose. So I'm just not going to cast anything else. I'm just going to sit here and play lands and watch what they do. See if we can learn any more about their deck. Another Consider. Or I guess this is the first Consider. Mill one if they want, and then draw a card. They do not mill one, so they like whatever is on top of their library. Search Party Captain, very nice. Attacking with a ton of creatures reduces that cost, so it reduced it to a 1 mana 2/2 that draws a card, which is excellent. Alright, so, I mean, not much to be gathered there from just playing it out a little longer, but there was certainly no comeback from that one. They are just the very well-built blue-white blue-white Disturb deck. The Graveyard Value Town stuff there. I really don't know how to sideboard here. I think we're just in a very bad spot. Their deck is quite excellent. We don't really have anything that exiles stuff from graveyards to shut off any of their abilities. Don't have any Wrath effects to get back at the Ominous Roost after they have a million things on board. Honestly, they're always going to have immense value throughout the game, even early on, so it's not like we can super outrace them, but that might be our best bets. So just throwing the big trampoline stuff, throwing the Abandon the Posts, shut off those Disturb blockers. Just get rid of our 5 mana cards, I guess. Even Soul Guide Gryff not going to be good in this matchup. They have so many flyers. Yeah. Just lower the curve with some combat tricks and another cheap creature and try to just slam in as good as we can, or as well as we can. And those are going to be the adjustments. It's like Soul Guide Gryff would still be good at blocking and exiling one of their Disturb cards. Probably should have kept Soul Guide Gryff in, but I really feel like the only way we win is if we cheese it out with a Festival Crasher with a hand like this, so I'm going to keep this hand here. See if it gets there. We are going to be on the play for sure, so that makes it a little more likely. Gavany Trapper. Well, that is certainly going to shut off my idea here, because they can just start tapping down the Festival Crasher every turn. As long as they need to. This was like as close to the perfect hand as I could have imagined. Crasher plus double Vitality, going to be just massive damage super quickly, but our opponent has kind of the perfect response, Gavany Trapper. But they don't hold the mana up this turn, just a Shipwreck Sifters played, just discards a land, so it's also just a 1/2. So we'll just slam in with the Crasher and see how much that would be. That'd be 3 damage plus 3, that'd be 6 damage if we cast a spell here. Alright, we'll have to cast a spell here to clear the Shipwreck Sifters out of the way. So it'll be 4 damage. And kill that thing. They're down to 16. We can Ardent Elementalist to pick up a Vitality if we don't have to cast one this turn. If we do have to cast one, that's going to be awkward, because on turn 4 all we're doing is doing that. I don't think we have to cast one here, because all we'd kill is a Gavany Trapper. So I think we're going to attack in. If they don't block, we just let it. If they do block, then we also just let it, because I would rather play an Elementalist here, I think. Because the only thing we'd cast is a Vitality. That turn, if we played that out. Alright, so now they're going to just start trapping the Crasher every turn, but that leaves us open to casting our other spells like Famished Foragers, or they're not. I like Foragers into Infiltrator here. They must have a counterspell or something up, though. Possibly. I am unsure if they're not going to trap something down. We didn't see any counterspells from them the first game, and they seem to be kind of the tap-out blue-white deck, because they're just dumping a bunch of recastable things in their grave, and they spend all the mana on that, so counterspells would be a little weird. But they do have instant speed effects like Trapper that makes counterspells better. This has got to be like some kind of interaction. Maybe it's a bounce spell, and they were going to bounce spell something in response to our Vitality. Whatever we cast, if they counter it, it's going to be a bad time for us, so... just go for the Foragers. Oh my god, alright, no counterspell. Super nice. The Festival Crasher aggro actually being super spicy this game. They're down to 14, and now we've got quite the board. It is interaction. It's Revenge the Drowned. And, you know, with double Vitality in hand, I kind of want to keep Festival Crasher, but it's also just a 2-drop at this point of the game. We have a lot of other stuff on our board. This does put us in a really difficult position. Really difficult choice here. It's not going to have haste. It's going to be a while. Let's put it on the bottom. A basic land would be a pretty great draw, because then we go Morning Patrol and have Vitality mana, and anything that isn't a basic land is probably going to be a bigger card than a Festival Crasher, so I think most of our draws are going to be better than Festival Crasher here, so we'll put it on the bottom. That's really what you have to think about when you're choosing whether to put it on top or bottom. Is this card better than a card at random? And if a basic land is a good draw for you, then most of the time it's not, because a basic land's like 50% of your random draws most of the game. So yeah, like a basic land, we're happier with that than the Crasher there. See what's up from our opponent here. Alright, we can Vitality and Patrol, just get that extra damage in. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10? They go to 4 life. Oh yeah. Thanks to the trample on the Infiltrator. And then we play another creature here, and they're at 4 with a single blocker. And a Consider from our opponent. 1 to the graveyard, 1 to hand. All of the tokens from Ominous Roost can only block flyers, so they are not going to help them, even if they do flashback cards like that. And an Organ Hoarder's the play. They do have 2 blockers out, but another Stolen Vitality. Whatever creature gets through, get in for extra damage, or even whatever gets blocked, make it a Trampler and get in for extra damage. Looking pretty likely we can find that just early aggressive win like we were trying with the rebuild of the deck with double Vitality in here. Alright, another blocker. I don't think that saves them, because we can just give Stolen Vitality to whatever's big enough to trample over, even if they block all 3 of these. Let's see. Let's do the math for sure. So we hit them for 3 if we Vitality there. We hit them for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if we Vitality here. So we Vitality on Foragers. Close out the game that way. Cool. Rarely in sideboarding do I feel like I've managed to operate a sideboard plan and come out with an effective deck from it, but that game was very much one that worked out hardcore for us, mainly because we drew like all of our sideboarded cards. We drew our Vitalities, the biggest cards that we sideboarded in. So yeah, that was a plan to sideboard into, and certainly worked out for us. Now is where we got to double check. Do we want to throw the Soul Guide Griff back in? Because I think that was a decision that was a little hasty. Just having something big enough to block their flyers and also shut off one of their recursion spells does seem good. Maybe even better than Abandon the Post. Tons of their creatures can't really block anyway, so yeah, get rid of Abandon the Post for Soul Guide Griff, and then I think this is probably the best deck that we have available against that blue-white Disturb deck from our opponent. All right, so to the final game of the match, potentially the final game of the event here. If we lose this game, that will be our second round loss. That will kick us out of here. Our opponent's on the play, and our hand is not that fast, but it has both colors. If we draw non-lands, we're having a good time. Because we have our turn 2 play, we have our best turn 4 play. We are on the draw here, which makes mulliganing a little less bad. In best of 3, I think I'm just going to keep this and hope for the best here. We do draw at least one more spell to cast. Things are working out okay so far. Turn 2, our opponent does have that Shipwreck Sifters. If they discard a Disturb card or a Spirit, it's going to be a uphill battle for us. Kind of one of the better turn 2 plays that the Disturb decks can have against aggressive strategies, because just getting a 2/3 can block 2/2s all day long. And luckily for us, they only had a land to discard, so we're going to play one of our 2/2s here rather than our 3/1, because the 3/1 just trades for Sifters, but the 2/2s can just get in there. So we'll play the Flame Channeler. The Witch is better later, but right now they're on par. They're just 2-mana 2/2s that do the same thing, essentially. I don't know what this is about. What on earth could this be about? Or do they just want to Bless Defiance or something? I'm so confused here. Literally anything I could think of that they would want to do this for, they could just do on blocks anyway, because there's nothing in blue or white that cares about your opponent having lost life this turn. Oh, it's Search Party Captain, right? Because that's 4 mana unless they attacked. So Search Party Captain, we get a free kill here, and then they just drop Search Party Captain. I feel like the only thing that makes sense here is they have Bless Defiance or Startle or something that makes this attack not bad for them if I do block. But then they have the Search Party Captain for if I don't block. That's got to be what it is. Yeah, because if they had Bless Defiance, like I just hold back for blocks because they know my deck is aggressive. They have to have Bless Defiance and Search Party Captain in their hand. I think that's what's going on here. And now we did hold them off of casting that Search Party Captain for a turn by blocking. So that feels correct to me, because I feel like that's the only combination of cards that makes sense to me. Of course, now they will not be running out of Search Party Captain. Or now we will not be stopping them from running out of Search Party Captain, because we're not going to block that 1/1 flyer or kill it. I really want to damage them for Famish Forgers, but I don't think we will be, because next turn they're going to play a 2/2. So which one of these would we rather trade into the Search Party Captain? Probably the Candlegrove Witch. Gonna be a while to get Coven. Even if we get Coven, their deck has a lot of flyers to block it anyway. So we'll play the Candlegrove Witch. They have Startle as well, to make sure the combat's fine for them. And then Cathar Commando here, they do have that really spicy Ominous Roost that we can blow up with it. So I think we want to keep Cathar Commando. Well, Gale Drifter is a very nice 4-drop from our opponent, because it can block Witch and then just come back from the grave. I think our start just ended up being probably too slow here because now they can start coming back with their value plays where every one of their cards is going to be equivalent to 2 of ours. The Gale Drifter, of course, trading for our 1 card and coming back to trade with another one. So things looking sketchy. But we're going to play a Famished Foragers and try to filter out of this flood a little. Get these lands out of here for some other stuff. We are taking 4 damage a turn. Guessing here comes, yep, here's that Search Party Captain they've had since turn 3. But Gale Drifter was definitely a far better turn 4 play, so that's why that came out even though they still had Search Party Captain in hand. The fact that Gale Drifter came out turn 4 didn't mean they didn't have Search Party Captain, it just means it was a better turn 4 play. So, what do we do now? Double Spell, Commando, and Patrol? Or discard to draw? I think we're just getting shredded by flyers here. This is a game where our Soul Guide Gryph is a super sweet draw for sure. We could alternatively discard like the Morning Patrol so we can at least cast 1 flyer. But also having a 2-3 to block there, 2-3 without killing it is good, because if we kill this 2-3 then they get a 2-1 flyer, so... Yeah, let's just double up our spells here, just cast everything we can. Could have went for the main phase Cathar Commando, so Witch has flying. And hit in for 2 there. I should have done that, because Gale Drifter was tapped. So used to instinctually holding flash cards until the last possible opportunity, but we definitely should have played Cathar Commando. Pre-comment there, just chip in for 2 damage, because it's not like Candlegrove Witch is blocking well here. So I missed out on 2 damage. I don't think it'll matter. We're looking real dead here, but it could cost us the game if we find a way to stabilize. Alright, well, we get in for the 2 damage with the Witch now, which means we get to Foragers and discard a card, draw a card. Which is nice. Don't have much time to draw it out now. We're taking 4 damage a turn. We're on a 3-turn clock at the slowest, and if they ever attack with any of these, we're on an even quicker clock. Oops, accidentally minimized arena. Alright, there we go. Discard the planes here. We have triple white, double red. Alright, that's not ideal. Are we passing to hold all these in hand, or are we playing one so it's more likely we discard, draw, and still cast something next turn? 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we won't have the mana to discard 2 and draw 2 unless we play another land anyway, so run that out. Next turn, if we draw a basic, then we get to discard 2, draw 2, but we're super close to dead here. Probably should be attacking with the Morning Patrol as well, just so we can maybe recast it as a 2-1 flyer, but a 2-1 flyer deals with 1 of their flyers, and they have 3. They have a 3-2, a 1-1, and a 2-2 flyer. Like, if I kill this, they just bring it back as a 2-2 flyer. If I kill this, they're still hitting me for 3 every turn. So either way, the 2-1 flyer to block with doesn't actually really slow down the damage at all. I guess it slows down 1 turn of the damage, but we go from taking 4 a turn to taking 3 a turn either way we block. So Cathar's doesn't save us, so I guess we just discard it. Yeah, I mean, we discard the land first, but probably the Cathar's too. Candlegrove Witch also doesn't save us, and it's weaker than Cathar's, so we'll get rid of that. Alright, well. We don't have a lot that can save us in this match, to be fair. I think our biggest out actually is not Soul Guide Gryph, it's Burn the Accursed, because then we get to kill the Gale Drifter and exile it from their graveyard. But again, even if we kill that, if they start attacking with these disturbed creatures, any of these coming out as a flyer is super lethal. So, and we would almost definitely convince them to start attacking with those if we manage to clear out their other flyers. Then they'd be... especially because we're down to 7 life. Then they would do whatever they can to get more flyers on their board. Should have probably sent in for 2 there, but we're at the point where If I did send in for 2, I'd have 4 blockers against these 5 attackers, so I would take at least 1 more damage by doing that, and at 3 life after this attack, I think every point of life that we have matters a lot more than the point of damage that we could potentially do them. There's a play with fire. Slow down the Gale Drifter for a turn or 2. Rather play Cathars and play with fire, or just draw more cards and play with fire? I think I'd still rather draw more cards. Dig for something else, too. Lambhole Terrier. Might as well just get another blocker out here and shoot the flyer. And by having enough creatures on this board, I guess we are... That would explain why they're not just sending in the ground troops, even as low life as I am. If they end up in a board state where they can't block anything, they are taking a lot, and with multiple combat tricks in our deck, they got to be scared of that for a potential just way to turn things around real fast. Yeah, this is an excellent deck from our opponent. Some really quality opponents throughout this whole draft. I think out of all the drafts, I think this is probably the best decks we've played against here. So this has been an exciting draft for sure, even if it will end in defeat prematurely. We will not make it to the 6-win run here for sure. That's fine. Our opponent has earned these wins. So I put that on top because theoretically, like, Witch is going to hit them for 2 next turn, and then I can play that. So for only 1 red mana, I get the 4/3 back, and I still draw a card, discard a card, because I'm getting the 3 mana rebate. Maybe it isn't correct to put it on top. But, oh yeah, it doesn't matter here, because they just have lethal with the amount of creatures they have, even if I kill one. Like, I kill that, and I can only block 4 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at least 3 creatures hit. They all do at least 1 damage. That's going to be game. And that will end our final draft challenge. Not the craziest record here, but I think for all things considered, for the deck that we ended up drafting, I'm pretty happy with a 3-2 here. And obviously with the prizes, I am always happy to break even in a draft. That just lets me play more drafts. As long as I'm going infinite with drafts, I'm super, super happy. So some nice rewards here. We'll take one final look at our local Denny's. I am a fan of the deck name this time around. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of weird. The deck names I like are a little different than than I think what the general audience likes, but I just like how dumb this name is. But I feel like it fits really well because Denny's is well known for being just like the mediocre, weird breakfast place, and kind of what this deck is. Mediocre, weird little Boros aggro thing. Very, very middle of the road here. This is not a bad deck. It's also not a good deck. So a 3-2 record, that's an average record for an average deck. 3 wins, some more wins than losses. We broke even here. I'm super happy with that record for this deck. And it was a fun deck to play around with. We had some really exciting plays and stuff. Even in that last round where we did firmly, handedly lose, the second game was still really exciting. Be able to do that swap around and play around with the Festival Crasher into double Stolen Vitality. That was a fun game. Find that lethal quite early there. Really fun stuff with this deck. I had a good time in this draft, and I hope you all enjoyed watching it as well. But that will be the final Midnight Hunt Draft Challenge. I guess technically I do have 5 minutes to get into another one, but I would have to buy more gems again, and I don't have too much longer to record today, so I think I'm just going to end it there. But that will be the final Innistrad Midnight Hunt Draft Challenge. I hope you enjoyed all of these draft challenges as much as I enjoyed playing them. I will have plenty of more Magic Arena content coming to you again soon. This weekend is when the Ravnica drafts start, and they are a very exciting new format. Not that there's new cards, but that it will be one pack pack of Guilds of Ravnica, 1 pack of Ravnica Allegiance, and 1 pack of War of the Spark, drafting all 3 of the most recent Ravnica sets together, so that will be really spicy. You can expect a lot of multicolored decks there. I'm assuming most players will end up in 3 colors, because you'll need some overlapping guilds in your first 2 packs. Of course, in the Ravnica sets, all of the guilds are 2 color pairs, so in order to be in a guild in pack 2, you straight up have to be at least 3 colors. So I expect a lot of 3 color stuff there. There's guild gates in like every pack, so there's lots of good mana fixing in the format. That should be a really fun time. I'm excited for that. And then the Friday after that, the Premier Draft of the Core Sets format's coming back. That's a pack of M19, M20, and M21. Another exciting draft format because you never know how any draft is going to go. You're always going to be playing against different cards every time. Every pack is from a unique set with at least 200-something cards in it. So the variety that you see in those draft formats where it's 1 pack of 3 different sets is quite high. So those should be some really fun formats. We'll be playing those throughout the coming weeks. And of course, the week after the Premier Drafts is the launch of Innistrad Crimson Vow, where we get to play around with some vampires instead of some werewolves, and probably some new spicy mechanics there. So stay tuned for all that. Tons of limited content coming to you all in the near future. If you are enjoying these videos and you want to see more, you can like, comment, and subscribe. That'll let the YouTube algorithm know to send you more in your notification feeds. And all of that professional YouTuber nonsense out of the way, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon for some more Magic Arena.